Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. Such foolishness was beneath him. Struggling against despair, defying so-called destiny, and letting one's life shine brilliantly. Only by doing so could one be truly human, worthy of his protection. Humphrey, who can say for certain? King of the future isn't set in stone. Everything we do now is to defy that future, isn't it? Ha ha ha, you're right. I was being short-sighted. Watching the rock citizens below, still fighting tirelessly for tomorrow's survival, Roy nodded. The 2 locked eyes and burst into laughter. After a night of conversation, they had truly came to understand each other. Having handled Rock's affairs, Roy accompanied Gilgamesh, carrying Enkidu's body, on a journey through the places where he and Enkidu had once spent time. As they walked, Gilgamesh shared tales of his past with Enkidu and the changes that followed. They wandered for hours, covering all of Rock in a single night, as Roy listened to Gilgamesh recount the epic of Gilgamesh in his own words. Gilgamesh told him his life had 3 pivotal turning points. The first was in his youth, when he thought he understood the world, rebelled against the gods, and became a tyrant. The second was meeting Enkidu, finding a true friend, tempering his spirit, and embracing joy. The third was Enkidu's death, leading him to wander Mesopotamia, gaining and losing in his quest. These 3 turning points marked his transformation. From a wise young king to a tyrannical youth, and finally to the mature wise king he was now. Looking back, it felt like a dream. As he spoke, Gilgamesh buried Enkidu's body himself in a place they had once shared, planting a white flower atop it. It was the flower Enkidu used to love picking for him when alive. Since his death, though Siduri would occasionally place such flowers on his desk. After finishing, Gilgamesh brought Roy to the demonic front. Though Gorgon was dead, he knew the ordeal was far from over. His clairvoyance couldn't see it, but he had a premonition that the true trial still awaited. With no time to waste, he had brought Roy to the demonic front at dawn to find the best candidates to execute last night's plan. Chapter 200, MP 200, a fated encounter at the forefront of the demonic front. Under the command of the servant Leonidas I, Rock's soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder in disciplined ranks. At his order, the well-trained warriors raised their spears, forming a phalanx that charged forward, cutting down the encroaching demonic beasts. These spear-wielding soldiers rotated seamlessly, functioning like a well-oiled war machine, relentlessly reaping the lives of the beasts on the battlefield. The muscular warrior struck his round shield with his spear, producing a resounding clang. Leonidas bellowed to the valiant soldiers below, "Where are we?" "Rock." "And what are you, soldiers?" "Sparta." "Sparta." Amid the warriors' rallying cries, the soldiers of Rock's battle line ignited with fierce resolve, raising their weapons in a thunderous war cry that shook the sky. Even Roy and Gilgamesh, observing from a distance, couldn't help but be stirred by the fervor. What an exceptional general. Indeed, Leonidas is a truly outstanding leader. It's precisely because he oversees the demonic front that I can focus on affairs in the Divine Tower, ensuring Rock's operations continue smoothly. Gilgamesh nodded at Roy's praise, clearly pleased with the excellent card he'd drawn. As the attacking beasts below were nearly cleared by the soldiers, the 2 leapt down from the high wall, swiftly approaching Leonidas I. Sensing someone approaching, Leonidas turned warily, surprised to see his commander, Gilgamesh. "My king? At this hour, shouldn't you be in the Divine Tower?" Gilgamesh was known to spend nearly 24 hours a day in the tower, handling affairs to keep Rock running. His presence here was unexpected. "Tedious affairs can wait. I have more pressing matters to entrust to you. Allow me to introduce, this is the new king of our current ally. Soon, many soldiers will reinforce the demonic front. You'll need to take extra care, understood, Leonidas I?" "The king of Leonidas glanced at Gilgamesh beside Roy. With King of Rock vouching for him, this young man was undoubtedly an ally. Still, what exactly had happened? Though the specifics eluded Leonidas, knowing Roy was a partner bringing many soldiers was enough. "Greetings, King of Allow me to introduce myself, My name is Leonidas. As you see, I, along with Archer, command this front. My primary duties are training recruits and leading these lads against the demonic beast assaults." As he spoke, Leonidas extended his hand. Out of courtesy, Roy clasped it in return. "Greetings, my name is Roy, currently the king of I entrust the soldiers and upcoming battles to your care, Mr. Leonidas." "Ha ha ha, of course. Send as many lads from as you like. I'll train them in a way even more Spartan than Sparta itself, turning everyone into a warrior who can stand on their own." "That's reassuring." Seeing Leonidas's brimming confidence, Roy returned a smile. But then, Gilgamesh scanned the surroundings, speaking with a hint of surprise. "Leonidas, where's Archer? Why isn't he on the front at this hour? Is he elsewhere?" Looking around the demonic front and finding no trace of Archer, Gilgamesh was puzzled. Normally, that divinely gifted hero would be guarding the line alongside Leonidas. Missing today? Had he gone off to slack like Merlin? No, impossible. Gilgamesh knew that hero, powerful, disciplined, and above all, obedient. The best card he'd drawn. He wouldn't mimic Merlin's laziness. His absence was surprising. "Archer, huh?" At Gilgamesh's mention of Archer, missing since yesterday, Leonidas's expression grew odd, unsure how to address what had happened. Though Archer had insisted he not tell Gilgamesh, with the king asking directly, there was no avoiding it. After gathering his thoughts, Leonidas explained hesitantly, "Actually, since yesterday noon, while I was commanding the soldiers against the beasts, I noticed Archer seemed distracted. I asked what was wrong, but he just shook his head, refusing to speak. Then, not long after, a surge of immense fiery magical energy erupted above the demonic front. Though I couldn't see the figure clearly, their power was undeniable, and the golden spear they wielded gave off a terrifying aura. It was even more fearsome than the beast leader Archer defeated recently. When Archer sensed that energy, he lost control. Without a word, he charged into the sky, engaging that fiery figure in fierce combat. I thought it might be a powerful foe sent by the beasts and wanted to assist, but Archer sharply ordered me to stay out of it, saying it was his fight alone. The opponent didn't seem to be from the beast side either. With such power, they could have razed the front in an instant, causing heavy casualties. Instead, they deliberately moved the battle into the beast horde, avoiding harm to Rock's soldiers. Archer also insisted I not report this to you, so I didn't inform head priestess Siduri. Recalling the strange events of yesterday noon, Leonidas was at a loss. The opponent had come with hostility, no doubt, but clearly wasn't aligned with the beasts. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered shifting the battlefield to avoid harming Rock's soldiers. Yet that red figure clearly had a personal grudge with Archer. Their clash was filled with lethal strikes, each aiming to destroy the other. By moving the fight into the beast horde, half the beasts yesterday perished in the fallout of their battle. Now, both missing, they were likely still fighting somewhere in the Mesopotamian plains. A mysterious servant wreathed in solar flames, wielding a golden spear. The description sparked an uneasy premonition in Roy's heart. Recalling Karna's unusual behavior at the time, and noting it was around noon, the timing aligned perfectly. Could it be? "King Gil, I have a question." A troubling possibility struck Roy, and he turned his stiffening neck toward Gilgamesh. "Don't call me that, fool. Ask quickly. The Archer you summoned. His true name wouldn't be Arjuna. Karna." Before Roy could finish, two terrifying surges of magical energy erupted in the distant sky. A red and a blue light collided at blinding speed in midair, then crashed into the beast tide below. Instantly, flames and energy soared, dancing together across the vast sky. Chapter 201, MP201, Karna vs. Arjuna Die, Karna. A deep blue arrow of magical energy coalesced in midair, launched from the white-clad archer's bow. Simultaneously, the fiery arrows he unleashed split rapidly, transforming into pillars of flame that swept toward Karna and the demonic beasts below. Boom! The terrifying force charred the ground beneath Karna, incinerating a swath of beasts. Yet, for what was merely a probing attack, Karna remained unfazed. With a cold snort, he leapt with utmost composure, weaving through the rising columns of flame to reach the opposite end of the demonic front's sky. Another feeble attack? It seems your skills haven't improved much, Arjuna. Holding his golden spear and clad in golden armor, Karna gazed at the white-clad archer across the sky, speaking calmly. Boastful fool. Your own strength is nothing remarkable, Karna. Unruffled by Karna's taunt, Arjuna fixed him with a chilling stare, his voice icy. Not only in the American continent, but you've been summoned to Mesopotamia too. Very well. It seems our fates are truly intertwined. We are destined for a battle, a fated clash where only one of us will survive. Below, Roy and Gilgamesh watched. No need for them to reveal their servants' true names. The answer was clear. Karna and Arjuna, heedless of the soldiers on the demonic front, shouted each other's true names openly. Then, they began a breathtaking aerial duel above the front. Seeing Arjuna and Karna fighting with reckless abandon, Gilgamesh clutched his head, exasperated. You summoned the son of the sun god Surya, the great hero of charity, Karna? And you summoned his counterpart, the divinely gifted hero Arjuna? Roy retorted. But. So, King Gil, what do we do? Just let them keep fighting like this? Watching the Indian demigod brothers clashing above, even Gilgamesh felt a headache brewing. Arjuna was the finest card he'd drawn using the Holy Grail, impeccable in strength, obedience, and leadership. With him anchoring the demonic front, Gilgamesh could focus on Ruck's affairs. The same held true for Roy. Karna was a flawless servant in both strength and character. As for mana consumption, that was the master's problem, not Karna's. Individually, Arjuna and Karna were reliable allies, but together, this scene was beyond most people's control. Roy recalled that Gilgamesh's summoned servants shouldn't have included a hero as formidable as Arjuna. Aside from Merlin and Leonidas, the rest were from Japan. Due to the stark power gap with the beasts, before Chaldea's arrival, several servants had already fallen, Amukasa Tokai Sada, who ventured into Ur's rainforest with Fumakotaru and met his end, and Ibarakiji, who was reported to have rebelled and led a group of bandits. The saber class, ideal for power, contributed nothing, dragging Assassin down with him. Ibarakiji, in the high-output Berserker class, rebelled and led a group of bandits. One could imagine Gilgamesh's despair at summoning such oddities. Among the unmentioned servants, only Tomoe Guzan had truly shown, trading her life to take down a beast leader, buying the front precious time. When Gilgamesh mentioned Saber's death in the rainforest and Assassin's narrow escape, Roy hadn't thought much of it. Seeing Leonidas in command aligned with his expectations. But Arjuna's sudden appearance was a shocking surprise. How did these two end up meeting? And it wasn't over. Oppression. Oppression. The stench of oppressors. As Karna and Arjuna tangled in the sky, a white giant in revealing armor burst from Ruck's gates. Roaring, he swung his iron sword, effortlessly flattening several charging beasts. Wasn't that Spartacus? Seeing Spartacus enter, Roy's composure crumbled. Indeed, not only had archer Tomoe Guzan changed, but Berserker had shifted from Ibarakiji to Spartacus. Compared to the deserter Ibaraki, this chain and armor-clad white giant was no less trouble, embodying the Berserker's hallmark of evaporated reason, rampaging through the chaotic beast-tide toward Karna and Arjuna. Oh! Hearing the distant roar, Arjuna and Karna turned to see Spartacus charging toward them. Berserker? Arjuna's expression showed surprise at Spartacus's appearance. Gilgamesh's face darkened. To maintain basic stability, he rarely appeared before Berserker. Unlike typical mad warriors, Spartacus's reason wasn't just gone, his past fueled an even deeper hatred for kings and oppressors. When summoned, he had attacked Gilgamesh outright, only to be easily subdued. Though hard to control, he was valuable, so after feeding him ample magical potions, Spartacus retained minimal reason to fight for Ruck. Normally, Arjuna, the strongest, kept him in check to prevent chaos. Now, with Arjuna occupied by Karna, Spartacus had slipped free. Oppressors. Crushing a beast's skull with one hand, Spartacus turned to Roy and Gilgamesh on the wall, letting out a deafening roar. Yet this time, he didn't charge them, continuing to rampage along the demonic front's forefront. His path made it clear, he aimed for Karna and Arjuna, rushing to aid Arjuna in his struggle. Prioritizing a comrade over crushing oppressors. Gilgamesh couldn't help but think. Damn it, Berserker, this is my fated battle. How dare you interfere? This is just like before. Seeing Spartacus charging, Arjuna was irritated but helpless. With Leonidas or Merlin, he could order them to stay out, but words were useless against a reasonless berserker like Spartacus. Would he have to subdue him again before continuing the fight? Ignoring Arjuna's troubled expression, Karna calmly glanced at the charging Spartacus. From his appearance, his class was clear. A berserker? Confirming he was an Ruck's servant, Karna turned to Arjuna, asking calmly, Arjuna, are you planning to team up with Berserker against me? Your pursuit of victory at any cost hasn't changed. Shallow, but fitting for the battlefield. If it spares civilians, come at me together, I don't care. His words made Arjuna clench his fists, his face burning with shame and anger. Indeed, Spartacus's sudden entry disrupted the battle's fairness. Even if he won now, what would it mean? Defeating Karna dishonorably held no value. Silence your nonsense. I didn't expect Berserker's interference. I need no one's help. I will defeat you, Karna, fair and square, leaving you speechless in your loss. Arjuna pulled back, raising his white bow, addressing Karna coldly. Big talk won't make you stronger, but I share your intent. Come, Arjuna. Karna gripped his divine spear, his body radiating lethal intent. To keep Spartacus from disrupting their fair fight, both increased their speed and altitude. This clash of brothers, this fated battle, was inevitable. Even Roy and Gilgamesh, watching from the wall, were unsure how to intervene. The resolve and killing intent in Arjuna's and Karna's eyes were deadly serious. At such a moment, even their master's orders couldn't separate them peacefully. Using a command spell to force them apart would only worsen the situation. Leonidas, recall all Rock soldiers on the battlefield immediately. These two are getting serious. The beasts won't get near Rock now. Get the soldiers back before they're caught in this fight, they'll have no chance. Yes. As Gilgamesh ordered Leonidas to gather the soldiers, the atmosphere between Arjuna and Karna in the sky grew oppressively tense. They locked eyes, their pupils blazing with murderous intent. Then. Karna. Arjuna. Two arrows of magical energy, one red, one blue, erupted above the demonic front. The son of the sun god and the son of the thunder god unleashed a mythic battle that shook the sky on this foreign land. Chapter 202, MP 202, An irreconcilable grudge due to unforeseen circumstances. No one could have predicted what unfolded. Arjuna, the divinely gifted hero, son of Indra, summoned by Gilgamesh with the Holy Grail, and Karna, son of the sun god Surya, summoned by Roy, met once more as fated brothers. On the very second day of their alliance, they clashed in a cataclysmic battle to the death on Gilgamesh's territory. Above Rock's skies, blue and red energies intertwined, a terrifying spectacle reminiscent of their battles in life. Divine lightning and searing flames collided in a relentless dance of opposing forces. Sparks from clashing weapons seemed alive, leaping across the sky as their powers fiercely contended. In mere moments, the shockwaves of their combat scattered and obliterated scores of demonic beasts on Rock's battlefield. Many beasts, unaware of their doom, were incinerated by the stray flames from above. Witnessing the full might of these two Indian sons of gods, Leonidas and Rock's soldiers below stood in awe, humbled. This level of combat. It rivaled even the legendary clashes between Gilgamesh and Enkidu, didn't it? Was this the power of gods? They couldn't help but marvel. Take this, Arjuna. In midair, Karna raised his divine spear, his right eye unleashing a searing ray of heat that swept toward Arjuna. The area in its path was sliced apart like tofu in an instant. A true hero, killing with a glance. Come at me, Karna. Unwilling to be outdone, Arjuna deftly dodged Karna's gaze while drawing his bowstring, firing even more devastating magical arrows in response. Karna. Arjuna. With their roars, a more terrifying explosion erupted, accompanied by a blinding white light. The already heavy air grew increasingly oppressive as their battle escalated. Both fought with all their might, eyes locked on each other, driven by a single conviction: you, and you alone, I cannot lose too. This battle was a continuation of their unresolved conflict from their past lives, fueled by Karna's righteous fury at Arjuna's actions. That justified anger. Karna was a noble hero praised by all, but only to others. No matter who defeated him, he would reflect, train harder, and accept his shortcomings without resentment. But this despicable man before him, Karna had to defeat him, to shatter Arjuna's so-called pride. As recorded in the Mahabharata, Karna and Arjuna, one of the Pandava brothers, were half-brothers born to the same mother, Kunti. Karna, born of Surya and immortal Kunti, was an immortal hero, the elder brother by blood to the Pandavas. His divine heritage was marked by the golden armor and earrings granting immortality, and the solar fire he wielded. As Surya's son, he was destined for unimaginable glory and respect among the Kshatriya. Yet, Kunti, young and unwed, bore him to test a sage's mantra, only to abandon him to avoid scandal. Pregnant with Surya's child, the young Kunti, in panic, placed Karna in a basket and set him adrift on the Ganges. A charioteer found and adopted him, raising him with care, but Karna's divine birthright was stripped away, relegating him to the lowest caste. Despite this, his demigod nature granted him exceptional talent. He trained under Rama, an avatar of Vishnu, mastering unparalleled martial skills. At a tournament in Hastinapura, Karna sought to challenge Arjuna, who had won many bouts. As a commoner, he was barred from royal contests, but Duryodhana, seeing a chance to humble Arjuna, named Karna king of Anga. Mama mocked Karna's low birth, and though the match was cancelled, the seeds of enmity were sown. After the tournament, Karna, grateful for Duryodhana's recognition, became his loyal friend and served him devotedly. When the Kurukshetra war broke out, Karna was appointed commander of the Kauravas after Bhishma and Drona fell. Kunti, revealing that the Pandavas were his brothers, begged Karna to spare them. Noble-hearted, Karna agreed to spare all but Arjuna. When he defeated Bhima unarmed, he let him live. Surya, doting on his son, had granted Karna the invincible golden armor at birth, making him nearly untouchable in battle. Arjuna's father, Indra, tricked Karna into giving up his armor, giving Arjuna a chance to harm him. setting the stage for Karna's demise. Perhaps out of guilt, seeing Karna peel off his armor along with his skin, Indra, moved by his nobility, gifted him a divine spear capable of a single, god-slaying strike. But Indra, wary of its power against Arjuna, tricked Karna into using it elsewhere. Thus, Karna lost both his armor and spear, severely weakened, giving Arjuna the opportunity to defeat him. In their final duel, a curse from Karna's teacher trapped his chariot in the mud, rendering him defenseless. They had agreed not to strike a helpless foe. Yet Arjuna, the supposedly composed and noble warrior, broke that vow, striking Karna from behind with a cowardly arrow to claim victory. Such a grudge made them irreconcilable enemies. Even on the same side, meeting meant they could not restrain themselves, only a fight to the death would do. In their battle, neither dared slacken, unleashing lethal strikes that left Ruck's soldiers below breathless. This scene made their masters, Roy and Gilgamesh, frown. If they continued, one would die, or both would be gravely wounded. Such an outcome would severely impact Ruck and their plans. Yet, with Roy's pure magical energy, Karna held the advantage. His blinding speed prevented Arjuna from gaining distance to leverage his archer class, completely suppressing him. Though Arjuna's superb skill let him parry Karna's spear with arrows, the strong could see that, without a noble phantasm, Arjuna's defeat was only a matter of time. But below was the demonic front, and behind it, Ruck, humanity's last city. Unleashing a noble phantasm here would irreparably damage the city and human history. Though Arjuna fought with bloodshot eyes, he wasn't reckless enough to use his noble phantasm. Thus, their skyward battle reached a stalemate. Below, Gilgamesh had reached his limit with their antics. This was his kingdom, his cherished city, defended by his meticulously crafted front. You two servants want to fight? Take it to the Mesopotamian plains. No more nonsense here. Though unspoken, Gilgamesh was on the verge of erupting. Meanwhile, Ritsuka and Mash, sensing the clash of immense magical energies, rushed to the demonic front with Merlin. Seeing Karna and Arjuna's fierce duel, they were stunned by the top-tier servants' combat. This is the power of elite servants. We're still far from their level. Why are they fighting? Aren't we all allies? Haha, talk about bad luck. They're both top-tier trump cards among servants, but when they meet, they turn into wild cards causing massive trouble. Gilgamesh and Roy must be having a headache. Witnessing the spectacle, Merlin said with a smile. Nearby, Anna and Mash gripped their weapons tightly, eyes fixed on the Indian brothers, knowing that joining would likely get them injured or killed by mistake. The only one who could stop them now was Merlin, smiling, glanced at Roy, deep in thought atop the front. Chapter 203, MP 203, each other. Meanwhile, within the Blood Fort Andromeda, the demon god pillars gazed at the Magus relayed by their beast familiars, their expressions grave. Not just Karna, but even Arjuna has been summoned. Many among them had encountered this pair of Indian brothers before. Back in the fifth singularity, Medb had summoned numerous demon god pillars using the Holy Grail to eliminate Chaldea, only to be thwarted by these two. What a twist of fate to meet them again in the seventh singularity. Besides a grand servant, to think two servants of this caliber would appear. No wonder Gorgon's beast army couldn't conquer Ruck, with such a trump card defending it. What should we do, Barbados? Nothing needs to be done. The shadowy figure named Barbados intoned. We've seen their strength. No single pillar could defeat either one. Since these servants bear an irreconcilable grudge, let them fight it out. Whatever the outcome, it will weaken Chaldea's forces. We need only reap the benefits. Interfering rashly would backfire, they'd likely unite against us, which would be counterproductive. Moreover, due to certain reasons, 5 of our pillars have already fallen before even clashing with Chaldea. I agree with Barbados. Our primary task is reviving Tiamat. Nothing else matters. The demon god pillars turned their gaze to the massive serpentine form suspended above the blood pool. The beast goddess, Gorgon, was impressive, killing 5 of our kin. Humphrey, just a tool, only strong due to the Blood Fort Andromeda's advantage, yet she dared dream of devouring us for power. Even your so-called child has become our puppet. If not for needing your authority to delay Ruck until Tiamat's revival, you'd already be a sacrifice. The pillars glared at the barely alive Gorgon, their words seething with rage. Initially, they sought to negotiate and cooperate with the beast goddess. But when they used the Holy Grail to revive King Gorgon, for reasons unknown, betrayed them, inciting King to seize the Grail and turn them into sacrifices for stronger beasts. Unbeknownst to her, King was no longer her trusted child but a puppet infused with the collective will of the demon god pillars. Her plan was exposed before it could begin, and in their fury, the pillars tried to consume her. Such overconfidence struck them as foolish. With King in the Blood Fort Andromeda's advantage, they might have yielded somewhat, but now, what right did she have to challenge them? Yet, they had to admit, Gorgon's strength exceeded expectations. In her desperate counterattack, she detonated most of the temple's beasts, killing several pillars. But such a tactic couldn't work twice. Stripped of the temple's advantage, Gorgon was swiftly crushed and imprisoned by the pillars and King, her freedom and authority seized, reduced to a pitiful beast-producing sacrifice. With Gorgon in this state, and the other goddesses' conditions unknown, the so-called three-goddess alliance oath is meaningless. What are you suggesting, Mirax? Exactly what I said. With the oath's key figure a prisoner, there's no need to honor it. Keep an eye on Kutha, and Ishtar's side. This three-goddess alliance isn't as simple as it seems. If they remain neutral, indifferent to humanity, or hostile, leave them be. But Mirax's voice grew low. If any goddess shows the slightest inclination toward humanity, we strike immediately to eliminate that possibility. Agreed? No objections. Seconded. Agreed. Above Rock, no one could halt the duel between Arjuna and Karna. Interfering during their all-out fight would mean being targeted by both and instantly obliterated. Yet, they had to be stopped. Dying against beasts or enemies was honorable, but falling to an ally's hand? What a waste. Such high-caliber servants weren't summoned for this. Both Roy and Gilgamesh resolved to intervene, heedless of the servants' potential wrath. As Gilgamesh prepared to summon his noble phantasm and join the fray, Roy grabbed his arm, stopping him. What are you doing? Roy didn't answer, instead raising his arm to connect with a servant hidden at Rock's edge. Oh? Stopping them. I was enjoying the show, but if it's Master's request, I suppose I have no choice. But this job won't come cheap. At least a modern aircraft as payment. Receiving Roy's message, Tezcatlipoca, speeding across the plane's energy Roy had crafted for him, glanced at the two figures in the sky, a smile on his face. Stopping such a battle seemed trivial to her. Despite their master's orders to stand down, neither Karna nor Arjuna relented, their magical energy flaring even stronger for the next clash. Flames and lightning collided, explosions flashing brilliantly in the sky. Countless dangerous sparks rained toward the ground below. Seeing this, Tezcatlipoca removed his sunglasses, a glint of excitement in his eyes. Steering the jeep, he wove through the perilous rain of fire, accelerating thrillingly toward his destination, Rock. As Karna and Arjuna prepared for their final clash, a white light streaked past them, accompanied by an intense sense of danger. Swoosh! A terrifying orb of magical energy tore through the sky, aimed at both. Startled, Karna and Arjuna halted their actions, dodging urgently. Who's there? Arjuna turned, furious at the interruption. Karna, looking down, softly uttered, Master. Roy had removed the pendant restricting his power, his body wreathed in white magical flames, floating in the air. Karna's master? Arjuna gave Roy a closer look, surprised. Such formidable magical energy. It's hard to believe a human like you exists. I'll take that as a compliment, Arjuna. Smiling faintly at Arjuna's astonishment, Roy's gaze settled on Karna. I'm sorry, Karna. I know this is presumptuous, and I understand your resolve, but can you stand down? Rock's situation can't afford for you to keep fighting like this. Pointless infighting will only lead to inevitable ruin. So, Roy pointed to the ravaged ground below, scarred by their battle's fallout. For my sake, and your own, why you not stop here? Hi guys, I want to let you know that I'm currently working on a new project. If you're curious to check it out, don't hesitate to give it a read. Tensura, the multiverse planeswalker, reincarnating into a fantasy world is truly extraordinary, especially one set in a universe of heroes and demon lords, a perfect recipe for an exhilarating and incredible adventure. That's what Damien is experiencing right now, reincarnating into the Tensura-verse. But the first thing that crossed his mind after reincarnating wasn't whether he was part of the grand battle between hero and demon lord, but whether he had reincarnated as one of the weakest creatures in the entire world. A slime? Fortunately, he didn't suffer such an unfortunate fate. But as the saying goes, if you're too lucky for no reason, misfortune will be the price you pay. Although he didn't reincarnate as a slime, he reincarnated as a hybrid magin-human instead. To make matters worse, he was reincarnated in a region that follows the anti-monster doctrine of a certain demon lord's church, a perfect setup for discrimination and ostracism against him. But luckily, it seems the voice of the world took pity on him for enduring such a fate and granted him, Planeswalker. A unique skill that allows him to freely explore other worlds. Incredible, right? But that's not all. In addition to this skill, he was given a skill that makes him stronger with every powerful familiar he possesses. No doubt about it, with these two skills, his future is bright. Servants, Pokemon, Magin, beasts, and all the powerful fictional characters he once admired. It seems that building his own kingdom composed entirely of his familiars is the surefire path to becoming the strongest. Tensura, Pokemon, Nasuverse, Konosuba, High School DxD, Kumodi Saganani Ka. Soul Land, Dungeon Fighter Online, No Game No Life, Monday Jitaki. And others. Chapter 204, MP204, Hardcore Mediation Above the Demonic Front. Roy calmly regarded the silent Karna and the indignant Arjuna, who was questioning him. Seeing Karna halt his attack, Arjuna turned, glaring at the young man who had intruded upon their battlefield. As he spoke, his bow was already aimed at Roy. "You're Karna's master? Why interfere in our fight?" "Indeed, my name is Roy. I'm Karna's master and his ally." "Ally?" The word made Arjuna lower his head, pondering briefly before continuing. "If you're his ally, then why? Why stop your fight? Calm yourself, divinely gifted hero, Arjuna." Roy met the bow aimed at him without a trace of fear, speaking evenly. "I have no intention of meddling in your grudge or preventing this battle of vengeance across time. But even a fated battle requires the right time and place. Humanity's history faces a dire threat. The enemy's strength is unclear, the final battle looms, yet here you are, fighting to the death, depleting our forces. Don't you think that's a bit selfish?" "Perhaps you're right." Arjuna bowed his head, brows furrowed, his expression conflicted. "But I'm sorry. This man, Karna alone, I cannot ignore. At this point, the only way to quell my rage is to kill him again." "Humphrey." Hearing Arjuna's roar, Karna shifted his gaze, his eyes radiating cold killing intent. "Your strength hasn't grown, but your boasts have. Without underhanded tactics, how could you ever defeat me?" "Master, no need for words. This paranoid fool needs no reasoning, just let me crush him with force." "Then try it, Karna." Seeing his mediation fail and the Indian brothers ready to bypass him to continue their clash, Roy's expression grew troubled. For the sake of their plans, he couldn't let them keep fighting. It was time for more drastic measures. Heaven him, seals formed in his hands, and blinding white light flared behind him. Before the dueling brothers could react, they were enveloped by the instant reality marble. A white world of light and shadow, a blackened sun, a gray desert. This place, isolated from reality, was Roy's personal domain. Standing in this unfamiliar gray-white sky, Arjuna looked surprised. He gazed down at Roy atop a white tower, frowning. "A reality marble? What are you planning? This pale world reflects Master's psyche? Real and powerful." Having seen Roy deploy his reality marble once in Karna now experienced it firsthand. The sight shocked him no less than it did Arjuna. "What am I planning? Isn't it obvious? To stop you two from causing more chaos. Once all enemies are defeated, fight as you please, I won't interfere. But not now. Neither Gilgamesh nor I will allow you to disrupt things here." As he spoke, Roy shifted his seals. A massive angelic silhouette appeared behind Arjuna, swinging a white greatsword, while a giant hand swatted at Karna, forcing him to retreat and widen the distance from Arjuna. "Do you really think I won't kill you?" Interrupted again, Arjuna, unlike the even-tempered Karna, raised his bow and fired at Roy atop the tower, aiming to bypass the angel and eliminate the casters swiftly. "Careful, Master." From the other side of the sky, Karna saw Arjuna attack Roy. Though irked by his master's interference, he still cared for him. He adjusted his stance, ready to dive and protect Roy. But the angelic silhouette blocked his path, preventing him from passing. No need. Such an attack doesn't require dodging. Roy, unfazed by Arjuna's incoming magical arrows, stood his ground, watching calmly. Someone would handle it. Roar. A beastly howl echoed through the white world, and a faint mist rose around Roy's tower. A blurred figure appeared before him. Facing the onslaught, the figure struck, wielding a strange weapon, part axe, part gun, shattering Arjuna's arrows with ease. "You're late, berserker." Seeing Tezcatlipoca appear, Roy couldn't help but chide. "Ha ha ha, still getting used to the new ride's controls, but I made it in time for the critical moment, didn't I?" Brushing off Roy's reproach, Tezcatlipoca scratched his head, laughing it off. He'd never admit he'd been so caught up racing through the fiery rain that he nearly forgot the time and was almost late. Seeing Tezcatlipoca, Karna frowned, questioning, "Berserker, you're here to meddle too?" "Meddle? Ha ha ha. How's this meddling?" Tezcatlipoca shook his head, eyeing Karna with a playful smirk. "Didn't you say a servant's first duty is to protect their master? I'm Master's servant, here to protect him. Is that wrong? You're the one acting out of line, Karna. How ironic. You were the most loyal and noble, yet now, for your own selfish grudge, you've dragged Master into danger. I enjoy watching opposites clash, and your fight's quite the spectacle. But since it's a client's request, I've got to step in reasonably." Twirling his firearm, Tezcatlipoca spoke, his laughter accompanied by thickening mist enveloping his form until he vanished completely. Seeing this, Karna and Arjuna's pupil shrank. Even Roy felt a lethal threat from the dense mist Tezcatlipoca summoned. The golden-haired berserker was getting serious. The mist cleared, and Tezcatlipoca reappeared, his modern attire replaced by a wild, South American-style outfit with feathered headdress and spear. The three fell silent at his appearance. Given Tezcatlipoca's region and era, the outfit fit the local style, but to Roy, it seemed a bit garish. Hey, what's that weird look, master? In my era, this was an honor worn only by elite warriors. Noticing Roy's odd glance, Tezcatlipoca clicked his tongue, retorting indignantly. Ugh, it's because you modern folks can't appreciate this unique aesthetic that I avoid wearing it. After a brief complaint, Tezcatlipoca dropped the Tropic of Cross-era aesthetics and got to work. These two weren't easy foes, so he'd brought out this form. Though his servant state couldn't unleash even half his true power, his Saint Graph was top tier, accommodating much of his strength. Dealing with these Indian brothers was no issue. Master, how should we proceed? Take them both out? Twirling his forked spear, Tezcatlipoca's gaze swept over the Indian demigods, separated by the giant angel. To him, taking out sounded effortless, as if handling both Karna and Arjuna would cost him little. And it was true. In the seventh singularity, aside from two troublesome entities, no enemy warranted his concern. Even his rival Quetzalcoatl, limited by her Saint Graph, couldn't match him. No. You handle Karna, I'll take Arjuna. Don't kill them, just subdue them. Once you're done, assist me. Got it? Keep them alive? TSK, I thought I could take out this unscented nuisance. Fine, as long as the payment's good, it's a small matter. Tezcatlipoca eyed Karna and Arjuna, his form fading, ready to strike. You're determined to? Arjuna glared furiously at Roy. Karna, lowering his head, offered no resistance as Tezcatlipoca held a spear to his neck. He wouldn't fight allies, save for Arjuna. Huh? Not even resisting? How boring. Tezcatlipoca, itching for a fight, was miffed by Karna's compliance. Karna sighed, shaking his head, and looked at Roy. Master, if we eliminate this singularity's enemies, will you allow us to fight? Exactly. Once this singularity's enemies are defeated, I'll envelop you both in my reality marble again. Then, fight however you wish, I won't interfere. Roy replied with a smile. Is that so? Karna glanced at Arjuna, then at the smiling Roy, nodding firmly. I agree, Master. I won't initiate a duel with Arjuna until then. Once this singularity is resolved, it will be Arjuna's end. That's more like it. True warriors don't fuss over when to fight. Tezcatlipoca eyed Karna, confirming his lack of hostility, then glanced at Roy, who nodded, understanding each other. He lowered his spear. Then he turned to leave. With things at this point, Arjuna had no recourse. Karna had agreed. If he persisted, he'd appear petty, losing to Karna in character. He shot Roy an angry glare, then turned to Karna, saying coldly, Be grateful for your master's protection, Karna. Once this is over, I'll take your life myself. Karna responded coolly, boasting won't make you stronger. Try to survive until then, Arjuna. The reality marble dissipated. Roy returned with Karna to Gilgamesh's side. Arjuna, unable to settle his score with Karna, departed in frustration. Chapter 205, MP 205, Soul shining with radiance. The white veil shattered in the sky. On the walls of the demonic front. Karna, his battle halted, leapt from the sky to rejoin Roy. His expression was grim. Though Karna's strength was formidable, bolstered by his divinely granted golden armor, his opponent was none other than his fated rival, the great hero Arjuna. Even after such an intense battle, he bore some wounds. As Roy raised a hand, weaving magecraft to heal Karna's injuries, he spoke, quite a rampage, Karna. My apologies, Master. Fresh from the fray, his emotions settling, Karna bowed his head like a chastised child, looking at Roy with guilt. No need to apologize, Karna. If anything, I should be the one saying sorry for stopping your fight. Roy shook his head, expressing his own remorse. I'm sorry. As your master and ally, I had to intervene at such a time, despite promising not to restrict you. No, I'm the one who should apologize, Master. I was too reckless, engaging Arjuna in a duel without informing you. I never imagined I'd encounter my fated rival here, let alone fight alongside him. What a twist of fate. It's fine, Karna. Fate is ever unpredictable. We can't choose or control it, but your meeting wasn't mere chance. Perhaps it's an opportunity to resolve your past grievances. Master. I promise you, once Rux's crisis is resolved and this timeline is restored, Gilgamesh and I will not interfere in your fight with Arjuna. I'll even bear witness to the conclusion of your grudge. How's that? After speaking to Karna, Roy turned to Gilgamesh. You'll join as a witness to this mythic duel, right, King Gil? Humphrey. Such trivial matters don't concern me. I have no interest in their fight. Thanks to them, my rest time's been ruined. Having watched the Indian brothers clash for so long, Gilgamesh was far from pleased. Urgent tasks awaited. Ur's migration and settlement couldn't be left to Siduri alone in the Divine Tower. With that, Gilgamesh glanced at Arjuna, who had returned to the demonic front, and reached through a golden portal, retrieving a pale blue potion and tossing it to him. Catch, archer. My king, what is this? Arjuna caught the golden metal vial, puzzled. A healing potion. Don't act unscathed, I saw Karna hit you with his spear of light. Don't jeopardize my plans by pushing through injuries. You wouldn't want to atone for that. Well done, Arjuna. Facing your nemesis head-on, even as an archer restrained by a lancer, you held your own. Worthy of a servant I summoned. I look forward to your final battle. As he spoke, Gilgamesh turned, his figure gradually departing. Not only Ur's migration but also the aftermath of this chaos demanded his attention. If he didn't hurry back, Siduri might come for him with a rope. Thank you for your leniency, my king. Arjuna bowed to Gilgamesh's retreating form, declaring firmly, I swear to you, I will claim victory and uphold your honor. Ha ha ha. I'll be watching. Await my orders here. I have a task for you soon. Were it not for this critical juncture, Gilgamesh might have allowed Arjuna and Karna's duel to proceed. Carrying regrets from life, meeting again as heroic spirits in a new era to shine and settle their grievances was a romantic, admirable feat, one Gilgamesh appreciated. But not now. The looming crisis took precedence over personal matters. His unease grew heavier, his clairvoyance couldn't discern the cause. They had to act faster. Merlin warned that Tiamat's awakening was imminent, poised to return to this land from her dream. The primordial mother goddess. Humphrey, so what? Come if you dare, Rock and I won't yield easily. The age of gods had passed, humanity's era would dawn, its spark igniting the world. As Gilgamesh departed, Arjuna rose, turning a cold gaze toward Roy and Karna. This time, the Indian brothers merely locked eyes, exchanging no provocations or overt hostility, both accepting the dual date set by Roy and Gilgamesh. They shared a singular thought, once this timeline is saved, your life is mine. Ha ha ha, what a thrilling battle. Its intensity rivals even Heracles. And you, King of Ur, you're impressive, daring to intervene in a fight of that caliber. I look forward to fighting alongside you. With the battle over, Leonidas approached Roy, bronze shield in hand. Thanks to Karna and Arjuna's chaos, most beasts around the front were dead. Cleanup could be left to Spartacus and Ruck's soldiers. He could catch his breath and chat with Roy, awaiting the next beast wave. It's nothing, Leonidas. I may be an imperfect king, but I must show some regal authority and capability, right? Roy nodded calmly at Leonidas's praise. You're right. I don't yet know you well, but your power alone justifies your crown. Leonidas laughed, warming to the young king he'd just met. Strong, insightful, fearless, and willing to risk himself at the right moment, a fine king to fight beside. By the way, Gilgamesh mentioned you're looking for assassin and rider? They returned 2 days ago and should be near the northern walls, clearing remnant beasts. You can find them there. Leonidas donned his metal helmet, ready for battle. A distant beastly roar signaled the next wave's approach, a call to Ruck's soldiers. The front's horn resounded before Ruck's walls. From the horizon, a dense, black tide of beasts surged like a flood. They gave no respite. The thousands of beasts slain by Karna and Arjuna's fallout were a drop in the bucket for their vast numbers. Within an hour, they could muster a force as strong as their initial assault on Ruck. Countless beasts charged across the plains, a black wave aiming to breach the dam and devour the city behind it. Before Ruck stood towering walls and a flesh and blood defense of soldiers wielding shields and spears. They would be the dam, shielding their families from the dark tide. Leonidas had no time for further talk. Raising his shield with his right hand and striking it with his spear in his left, he roared, "What are you?" The soldiers below mimicked him, unleashing a resounding war cry. Sparta! Sparta! Good. Prepare to engage. Don't forget your fear. Don't forget why you stand here. Don't forget the homes behind you. And finally, lads, may the war god bless you. On this perilous battlefield, we'll return to the throne. Sparta! Deafening roars and war cries moved even gods. In that moment, countless warriors took up arms, joining the fray. Many were young men new to war, yet none retreated before the boundless beast tide. With courage, they charged the black wave. For loved ones, for Ruck, for humanity. They would not lose. This radiant brilliance was the glory of ancient Babylon. The honor of Ruck. The resolve of humanity. Truly awe-inspiring. With such humans guarding it, Ruck will not fall easily. Watching the valiant charge and their golden spirit, Roy felt his blood surge. If he could, he'd take up arms, join this battle across life and death, and fight alongside these soldiers, rivaling any hero. Get moving, King of Ur. Take Karna to find Rider and Assassin at the northern walls. They're waiting. Arjuna, mostly healed by Gilgamesh's elixir, spoke gravely. Instead of marveling at the beast's scale or the battlefield's brutality, you have greater tasks. Don't linger. The demonic front is secure with me and Leonidas. He handed Roy the tablet Gilgamesh left. This details the king's plan. Be careful. Arjuna then fixed his gaze on Karna. Especially you, Karna. Don't forget our duel. Don't die out there. Humphrey, worry about yourself, Arjuna. Don't die before our duel. The brothers exchanged a glance and brief words before Arjuna leapt into the fray, firing his bow to cover Rock's soldiers against the beast tide. See that, Karna? This is Rock, a perfect city-state brimming with human will, a marvel that leaves me in awe. Roy spared no praise for this city of human resolve. Karna nodded silently. Compared to the soldiers I led in life, these people shine brighter. Indeed, this beautiful city-state is full of surprises. Merlin approached with Ritsuka and Mesh. The finest human spirits and qualities shine here. Compared to my era's Britannia, I prefer this Rock. So, we can't hold back. It's time to shine for this city-state, right? Roy smiled at Merlin. Merlin, protect Ritsuka and Mesh. Karna and I have our own tasks to complete. Leave it to me, friend. Merlin nodded, his expression serious. At such a critical moment, even he wouldn't jest. Roy-senpai, Mr. Karna, where are you going? Can't we? Roy gently shook his head at Ritsuka's question. I'm going to save my people. Gilgamesh has provided enough manpower for this. You have your own mission, Ritsuka. Don't follow me, do what you must. Once we've completed our tasks, we'll regroup in Rock. Then, show me how much you've grown. If I'm impressed, I might even hand over the holy grail I took from King. With that, Roy nodded to Karna, and the two leapt from the demonic front's walls, vanishing swiftly from sight. Chapter 206, MP 206, Assassin and Rider? Are you the king of Ur that Lady Siduri mentioned? Beneath Rock's northern walls, a robust old man dressed in red leapt from a platform and stood before Roy. Assassin. Li Xuan? Roy was quite surprised to see the old man in red before him. With Archer now being Arjuna and Berserker replaced by Spartacus, Roy no longer trusted his memories of the Seventh Singularities roster. But he hadn't expected Fumakotaru to be replaced by this man. Li Xuan. Roy was quite familiar with this man, whom he had once faced in a Lost Belt volume of Fate, Grand Order. If this was their assassin, it explained why he didn't perish alongside Saber when facing Taiga. Compared to the original Saber and Assassin, this servant possessed considerable raw strength. His mastery in combat was quite impressive, as described in his lore, earning him the title of No Second Strike. Roy knew Taiga's mindset in that state. Slacking off whenever possible, avoiding work if she could. If she thought fighting this man would take too much of her time, she wouldn't go all out. Facing this man, with his considerable experience and exceptional combat skills, would surely make her retreat, as defeating him would require a lot of energy and time. This clarified many things. Taiga had mentioned that two red-clad servants had recently sneaked into Ur. She caught them, finding one of the red-clad servants wielding a red sword, whom she easily defeated by leveraging the terrain. She let the other red servant escape rather than fight him because she didn't want to waste her time. That day, Quetzalcoatl punished her for letting the red servant go, hanging her in the Sun Temple for 2 full days. So, the red servant wasn't Fumakotaru but Li Xuan in red. Roy looked at the robust man before him. Compared to Fumakotaru, his prowess in direct combat was far more reliable, especially for their upcoming escort mission. For escorts, frontal combat and breakthrough capabilities trumped stealth. Why are you staring at me? Have we met before? You could say that, just like the other servants here, I've indeed had dealings with all of you. Judging by your attire and demeanor, you're clearly not from around here, so was it a Holy Grail war in another timeline or a parallel world? Li Xuan stroked his chin as he looked at the young man before him, familiar with both terms. As a servant in the Throne of Heroes, he had been given some information regarding such matters. You could draw that conclusion. Through certain events, we've fought against each other and alongside each other. Oh, that makes things more interesting. If it weren't for our limited time, I'd love to hear your story about how I ended up fighting against you and then becoming an ally to fight together. Though you might already know who I am, I'll introduce myself again. I'm Li Xuan. This time, summoned without a spear, so you'll have to make do with this old body to protect you. Roy followed with an introduction. I'm Roy, a traveler from another timeline, an ally of Gilgamesh. I'll be your companion this time. This is Karna, my servant and our ally for this mission. Assassin. Karna nodded slightly. You're the one who caused that commotion earlier with Archer at the demonic front, right? Yes. I was fighting someone. Karna admitted, nodding without concealment. Their battle was impossible to hide from mother servants. As expected, your striking presence is hard to ignore. And Roy, our destination is right? Li Xuan tilted his head, asking Roy earnestly. Yes, my two friends are waiting there. All right. Let's move. Ryder is waiting outside the walls. With his help, we'll reach our destination quickly. Li Xuan led Roy to a hidden door at the edge of the wall, bypassing the raging demonic front to reach a main road. There, a tall figure awaited them. Mounted on a steed, its silhouette was striking. Hey, Ryder, time to go. I've brought them. Li Xuan called to the figure ahead. Oh? Finally here? At his call, the figure turned, smiling at the group, then spurred its horse, galloping toward them. You! Roy's eyes widened at the unexpected figure, and even the stoic Karna was surprised by the approaching rider. Master, is that Chiron? No mistake, it's definitely. Greetings, comrades. I am Lu Bu, the world-renowned general. Tell me, are you my my comrade? A human? And Lancer. You're a summoned servant too, with a Magus bearing a command seal at your side. Quite enviable, nay. Faced with the bizarre creature claiming to be Lu Bu, Karna and Roy fell silent, staring at the stern equine face galloping toward them. Roy couldn't help but remark, a horse face. Indeed, a horse face. A horse face, not a vague metaphor, but a literal equine visage. Muscular, clad in armor, with a crimson mane and piercing, vibrant eyes. Even Karna, a great hero from the Age of Gods with vast experience, was taken aback by the sight. What a peculiar creature. It resembles a centaur but is very different from the centaurs I know. A complete man-horse? No, that doesn't seem quite right. He asked earnestly, could you truly be Chiron? Though reluctant to equate the noble sage with this creature, the only centaur-like hero in his memory was the renowned wise man of Greece. Nope. I'm Lu Bu. Ryder's confident reply plunged the air into silence. Karna rubbed his eyes, scrutinizing the man-horse servant again, his mind spiraling into self-doubt. No matter how he looked, this couldn't be the human general. What's wrong? Overwhelmed by my Galantora? Nay. No worries, leave the coming battles to me. What are you doing, assassin? I'm Lu Bu. How could I possibly? As Ryder rambled on, Li Xuan sighed, accustomed to the antics, and pulled a carrot from his pocket, stuffing it into the creature's mouth. Having worked with this eccentric rider for so long, he knew its habits well. Nay. Sweet carrot, assassin. Got any more? A few, but King Gilgamesh said you get them only after you take us to Nay. King Gilgamesh, you say? What are we waiting for? Let's go, assassin. Karna was utterly speechless. He was certain now, though he couldn't discern Ryder's true name, this oddity was definitely not Chiron. The renowned Chiron, famed for his wisdom, could never act like this. Unlike Karna's confusion, Roy knew the creature's identity. Red hair? Roy eyed the man-horse munching a carrot and clowning around, frowning but calling its true name. Startled that Roy named it correctly, Red Hair paused, then retorted naturally, who the fuck is Red Hair? I'm Lu Bu. No, you're Red Hair. Unlike Karna, Roy, having cleared the Lost Belt volume, had seen this creature. He recalled that Red Hair manifested due to its intense bond with his master, Lu Bu. Overwhelmed by emotion, his behavior unconsciously mimicked his master's. A servant imitating Lu Bu in every way. Even its noble phantasm, imitation god force, was a unique imitation of its master's arsenal. Though Red Hair's appearance and antics were bizarre, his strength was undeniable. Beyond his potent noble phantasm, his attributes were exceptional. In raw power, this creature might surpass Li Xuan beside it. In Mesopotamia's vast plains, Red Hair's agility and endurance shone, making it highly effective in fast-paced battles. The changes to the seventh singularity exceeded Roy's expectations. An overpowered archer, an assassin with a formidable physical body, a powerful and loyal berserker, and now a swift rider. Compared to the original odd lineup, Gilgamesh had drawn a stellar hand, tripling their combat strength. With their aid, defeating Gorgon seemed assured, assuming no changes on her side. But with the seventh singularity so drastically altered, Roy wasn't naive enough to believe the storyline would follow his memories. King was dead, leaving Gorgon alone and weakened. Would Goetia simply stand by? Tiamat's revival was inevitable, necessitating the counterforce of a grand assassin, King Husan, the old man of the mountain. But what of the other grand servant under his contract? Berserker, Tezcatlipoca, descending with a Grand Saint Graph. Two grand servants in one singularity meant one of two things: either Goetia himself had arrived, or Tiamat's situation had escalated beyond a single grand servant's ability to handle, prompting a second. Neither was it good news. Despite their favorable position, they couldn't afford complacency. Gilgamesh had warned him repeatedly to be cautious. His clairvoyance couldn't see the future clearly, and Merlin's had blind spots. No one knew what changes had swept Mesopotamia. Their plans had to accelerate to avoid unforeseen complications. Splitting up maximized efficiency, so he hadn't joined Ritsuka and Merlin. After completing Ur's soldier evacuation, he would head to the underworld to negotiate with Ereshkigal about relocating the underworld beneath or before Uruk, preparing for Tiamat with minimal casualties. Resolved, Roy nodded to Red Hair, signaling departure. Time was short, they had to move quickly. Alright, since we don't have much time to chat further, let's quickly reach our destination. As he spoke, Li Xuan led the carriage to Red Hair and attached the reins to it. Now it's your time to shine, rider. No problem, everyone, get on. Before we reach our destination and have a big fight, leave the traveling to me. At that moment, Red Hair allowed Li Xuan to attach the carriage to it, letting Roy and Li Xuan enter the carriage, ready to depart at any time. Passengers inside, hold on tight, this is my first time pulling the carriage too. Thinking about it, I'm a bit excited, nay. As for Karna, Red Hair initially intended for him to enter the carriage as well. But he shook his head and declined the proposal. Rather than staying in the cramped carriage, Karna preferred to stay outside. After all, the situation on the Mesopotamian plain was extremely dangerous, and this road was not smooth sailing. He stayed outside to coordinate with Red Hair. With Red Hair's consent, Karna sat at the front of the carriage, holding Red Hair's reins, and took on the role of the group's driver. As the great hero of charity in the Mahabharata, Karna was proficient in all mortal combat skills, so driving a chariot was naturally no issue for him. Though his current class was not rider, Karna's combat skills remained intact. At this moment, his riding skill was indeed A rank. Thus, when Karna grasped the reins and drove the chariot, Red Hair could sense that this man was no ignorant fool, and it felt an indescribable exhilaration. This surging feeling was as if it had returned to the days when it fought alongside his master in life. Are you ready, rider? As a fellow warrior, Karna could naturally sense Red Hair's emotions through the reins. To drive the chariot and fight alongside such a hero again, as in life, filled him with excitement as well. Of course. Let's go, I can't wait to start galloping. After a brief exchange, Red Hair hesitated no longer. In the next moment, the steed neighed, swift as wind and lightning. The sensation of Red Hair's galloping was like soaring through the clouds, carrying the chariot and racing freely across the vast wilderness. Warrior and chariot became one, charging toward the distance. In the blink of an eye, they vanished from the horizon. Half a day later, in the rainforest of Ur. Oh? Welcome back, Master. Have you already settled matters with Ereshkigal and Uruk so quickly? Sensing that Roy and the others had entered the rainforest, Quetzalcoatl, who was still training soldiers at the Sun Temple, removed the armor she wore like a human soldier and stepped out to greet Roy. Her face still radiated a bright smile. Seeing Roy return safely, she was overjoyed. Not yet, there were some changes in the plan, and I haven't had time to visit Ereshkigal, so I went to Uruk first. Roy shook his head slightly, then briefly explained his activities over the past 2 days to the enthusiastic Quetzalcoatl, who approached to embrace him. In short, because I unexpectedly met Chaldea's last master of humanity, I went to Uruk to visit the wise king who rules there, Gilgamesh. Then, we worked through the night to resolve the pile of large and small affairs in Uruk, and somehow we ended up discussing forming an alliance. After that, we witnessed a great battle between divine children at the demonic front. Now that we have some free time, we rushed back without stopping to handle the relocation of Ur's people. Over these 2 days, his sleep hadn't even amounted to 3 hours. If not for the third magic sustaining his bodily functions, he might have worked himself to death like Gilgamesh and gone to the underworld to meet Ereshkigal ahead of schedule. What a rich experience. You went through so much in just 2 days? And as expected of the master I chose, you managed to settle the alliance and the relocation of Ur's people in just 2 days. Quetzalcoatl was slightly surprised by Roy's remarkable efficiency. In 2 days, he had handled the alliance between Ur and Uruk, as well as the plan to relocate the soldiers. It seemed this man, whom she had forcibly placed on the throne, was actually quite dedicated to his responsibilities, truly worthy of being the king she had chosen. His strength, sense of responsibility, and abilities were all flawless. Aside from summoning that accursed man, which greatly displeased her, everything Roy had done so far exceeded her expectations. It's not all my credit, mainly, Gilgamesh isn't a fool either. With his clairvoyance, he sees the demonic front and the current situation more clearly than I do. So, after hearing about my background and the aid I could provide, he didn't hesitate much and agreed. After all, in this space-time on the brink of destruction, if humans keep scheming against each other, that would be utterly foolish, right? You're right, if, on the verge of extinction, humans still scheme against each other, that would indeed be foolish. However, Gilgamesh is truly a wise king, no wonder he can lead Druk to survive on this fallen continent without the goddess alliance. Hearing this, Quetzalcoatl nodded, pleased that the alliance had proceeded smoothly. But when she turned and saw the red figure munching grass in the nearby rainforest, her expression grew slightly odd. What kind of strange creature is this? A centaur? I didn't know there were centaurs in Mesopotamia. Wow! Such a robust body, with a fiery red mane, its soft texture is completely different from dinosaurs. Did you bring it back as a gift for Onsan? After greeting Roy, seeing red hair grazing in the rainforest, Quetzalcoatl's eyes lit up. As she spoke, she rushed to Red Hair's side, stroking its fur with her hands. Truly a unique and powerful creature, Onsan is pleased with your gift. Though she had ridden dinosaurs for a long time, this was the first time she had seen such a distinctive mound. Unable to resist, she climbed up to try riding it. Nay. Beautiful and strong lady, please don't touch me carelessly, okay? I am the great general, Lubu, and I have a family too. Though it seemed to enjoy Quetzalcoatl's caresses, it couldn't abandon its principles. When Quetzalcoatl attempted to mount its back, Red Hair promptly raised its front hoof, explaining it was not a mount and trying to shake her off. Huh? This aura? So you're a servant? Hearing Red Hair's voice and sensing the magical energy emanating up close, Quetzalcoatl was slightly surprised. Yes, I am Lubu, class rider, not a mount, so please don't. But before Red Hair could finish, it suddenly felt its back sink, its entire body restrained by a terrifying, strange force, unable to move. Quetzalcoatl had leapt onto its back and pressed down on its spine with both hands. This strength was even greater than its master's. What kind of monster was this woman? Since you're a servant mount, that's even better. Onsan likes you more and more. But please don't resist, okay? Otherwise, Onsan might not be able to help but use force to tame you first. Understood? Quetzalcoatl leaned her head close to Red Hair's ear, her previously kind expression turned fierce, and with the terrifying oppressive force of a divine spirit, an extreme sense of danger froze Red Hair momentarily. But he was Lubu, after all. The renowned general, a proud servant, how could it switch sides so easily? What would his master and Gilgamesh think? Yet, he quickly flashed a sycophantic smile. Nay. I love being a mount the most. It's my honor to fight alongside a beautiful and powerful lady like you. Don't hold back, use me as you please. Roy and the others looked at the bizarre horse with disdainful gazes. This creature truly knew how to adapt. After a brief exchange with the group, Quetzalcoatl jumped down from Red Hair's back, nodded to Roy and the others, and spoke formally. King of and envoys of Ruk, I welcome you here in the name of Ur's guardian goddess. And you've worked hard, my king. I and Oliver have been waiting for you. Yes, Quetzalcoatl, I have not failed my mission. Roy smiled and nodded. Haha, I knew you could do it. After all, you're the king who brought life back to this city that was like a corpse. Whether you accept it sincerely or not, you are now the king recognized by me and Ur's soldiers. Quetzalcoatl patted Roy's shoulder and said earnestly, I can see you're a good person, perhaps even too gentle. For someone on their own, that's fine, but for you now, it's not necessarily a good thing. Why? I don't think gentleness is a bad trait. Roy shook his head. Yes, gentleness itself isn't wrong. But as a king, as a leader making decisions for the people, there's one thing you must choose. I've seen the plan you and Gilgamesh devised. It's very good, though there are still some risks. It's currently the best option. The longer we delay, the greater the subsequent changes, so we must hasten our actions. But how will you allocate? Who will take the air transport, the water route, and who will cross the Mesopotamian plain? The safety of these three routes varies. There will inevitably be sacrifices along the way. How will you allocate them? My king, who will you decide to send on this venture? Quetzalcoatl tilted her head slightly and looked earnestly into Roy's eyes. She needed to know his answer. Hearing this, Roy fell into thought. Yes, Quetzalcoatl was right. There is no absolute justice in the world, and even those who hold the scales cannot keep them perfectly balanced. The risks of these three routes were indeed vastly different. Air transport via dinosaurs was the safest, while the water route and crossing Mesopotamia would inevitably involve sacrifices. The plain was teeming with demonic beasts, and even with servants' protection, they couldn't safeguard everyone. Blood and tears were unavoidable. The question of who to assign to which route naturally fell to him, the so-called king, the decision-maker. But how to arrange it without regret, How to make it fair? If this question had been posed at the start, he would have been conflicted. But now, he had an answer in his heart. So, he met Quetzalcoatl's gaze and gave his answer with conviction: I will neither choose nor sacrifice. I will leave the choice to them. Leave it to them. Quetzalcoatl was slightly puzzled. Yes, I won't hide the outcomes, nor will I leave it to so-called fate. I'll let people choose for themselves. I won't force anyone to make choices against their hearts. If they all choose the same path, then I'll do my utmost to lead them through it. Whatever the final outcome, this is the path they chose themselves, a path free of guilt and regret. Master. You. Even Karna and the others were surprised by Roy's response. You want to leave the choice to humans, let them choose for themselves, and bear the responsibility for their own decisions? Exactly, the path must be walked by oneself, even a king cannot twist their will. Let people choose for themselves and bear the consequences. The so-called king is merely a force on their chosen path, as long as they do their best to aid their people and live up to their role, that is enough. Ha ha ha, I see, I see. Rather than calling this your way of kingship, it's more like the way of benevolence. You might be well suited to be a king, yet also the least suited to be one. However, since I've decided to be your supporting goddess, I'll do my utmost to aid you. Quetzalcoatl set aside her usual carefree demeanor and gazed at Roy quietly. So. Use me with confidence, my king, lead the people who trust you down the right path. Thank you, Quetzalcoatl. I will do my best. Facing Quetzalcoatl's trust, Roy responded with firm resolve. Chapter 207, MP 207, The Choice That Belongs to Humanity. How is it, my king? Isn't this outcome quite unexpected? In the familiar and spacious Sun Temple, Roy gazed at the clay tablets Quetzalcoatl had just collected, his eyes tinged with emotion. The information inscribed on the tablets recorded the final choices made by the more than 10,000 residents of Ur. Upon returning to Ur, Roy had tasked Quetzalcoatl and Li Xuan with gathering the city's people in the plaza. He openly explained the upcoming migration and the 3 routes available, holding nothing back. He promised that no matter which choice they made, neither the king nor the goddess would blame them and would do their utmost to ensure their safe arrival in Ruk. Initially, he had prepared himself for the chaos that might arise from the allocation of people, even readying appropriate responses. But the final result was surprising. When faced with the truth and the need to choose, almost all of Ur's residents inscribed their names for the most dangerous route, crossing the Mesopotamian plain, wishing to leave greater chances of survival to others. Of the more than 10,000 people, nearly all chose to traverse the perilous Mesopotamian plain. As for the remaining 1,000 or so, they were either elderly or injured and were forcibly placed on the air transport list by their companions. The only disturbance in Ur during this time came from those who were dragged onto the air transport list, arguing loudly with the other warriors in the plaza. They shouted things like, "Don't underestimate us. We can cross Mesopotamia too." They even believed that in their current state, even if they reached Ruk, they would only be a burden, wasting food and resources without contributing anything. Rather than giving such a precious opportunity to them, it would be better to leave them in Ur and give the chance to those who could still shine. Just as at the beginning, these humans had transcended life and death, ready to sacrifice themselves at any moment. Faced with the question posed by their king, they gave an answer that seemed foolish but was, in truth, the most beautiful. This scene brought heartfelt smiles to Roy and Quetzalcoatl. It also left Li Xuan and Karna with a touch of astonishment. Indeed, these humans were remarkable warriors, the purest of humanity, worthy of their protection. Such beautiful humans, how could one not love them? However, the current situation presented a headache for Roy. While their mutual deference was admirable, if everyone chose the most dangerous route, it would certainly cause him trouble. Lives were not currency, nor were they expendable items in his hands. Every life was precious, and as king, he had to be responsible for them all. Such unnecessary sacrifices were something he would not allow. Really, they sure know how to give me a challenge. Placing the clay tablet on the table, Roy slowly stood up and walked toward the temple's exit. "What are you going to do, my king?" Seeing Roy rise, Quetzalcoatl asked with a smile. "Do I even need to think about it? Of course, I'm going out to properly guide my lovable yet troublesome subjects. Who told them to give me such a problem?" Roy shrugged, his expression somewhat helpless, though the smile on his face betrayed his true feelings. "Ha ha ha, indeed, giving the king such a problem does require some proper guidance. So, King of Ur, go lead your subjects well and ensure that the shining light of humanity is passed down. How about it? Need me to come with you to persuade them? After all, with a beautiful and prestigious goddess like me by your side, they might be more willing to listen." Smiling as she spoke, Quetzalcoatl leaped to Roy's side, her answer already clear. "Of course, I couldn't ask for more." Roy returned her smile. "Oh, by the way, Quetzalcoatl, where's Taiga? I haven't seen her since I returned. Where did she go? After being preoccupied with the migration of Ur's people, Roy finally realized that Taiga seemed to be missing. That disobedient kitten? Right now, she's leading some soldiers to prepare food supplies for the migration. Preparing food for the journey. I see. Roy nodded. That's quite a heavy task for her. Knowing Taiga's whereabouts, they didn't linger any longer. They walked out of the Sun Temple and arrived at Ur's bustling plaza. After earnest guidance and persuasion from Roy and Quetzalcoatl, they finally completed the official division of the 3 routes. During the process, the residents of Ur kept deferring to one another, causing some brotherly warriors to nearly argue, but in the end, the division was successfully completed, keeping the number of people on each route within a reasonable range and assigning suitable servants to escort them. The residents then began packing their belongings, preparing to head to humanity's last stronghold, Ruk, under the guidance of the servants. The city, once like a corpse, now burst with vibrant life. On this perilous migration path, no one felt fear, nor did any trace of trepidation linger in their hearts. Compared to the initial panic, meaningless self-doubt, and despairing wait for destruction in Ur, now, before the catastrophe arrived, doing something grand and impactful with all their strength was the best choice. And it would begin with crossing the Mesopotamian plain. Under the king's command, the residents of Ur quickly packed their belongings, collected enough rations from Taiga, and, led by several servants, set out quietly via air, sea, and land routes. Even though this path was fraught with danger, they would have no regrets. Facing the unknown road ahead, their faces showed no fear, only excitement and a longing for the future. They firmly believed that what lay ahead was not death and ruin, but a rising new hope. In the unearthed epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Babylonian ruins, there is such a record. In the middle years of Gilgamesh's life, an unprecedented disaster struck the Mesopotamian plain in the 2 Rivers region. It could have been a flood, a famine, or some other natural calamity. This disaster destroyed most of the civilized cities on the Mesopotamian plain, killing countless people and nearly driving the Sumerian civilization of the 2 Rivers to extinction. At the brink of annihilation, inspired by the sun god Shamash, the last king of Ur crossed mountains and rivers, traversing the Mesopotamian plain alone to personally visit the city-state of Ruk, ruled by the king of heroes Gilgamesh. He spoke with Gilgamesh through the night, using wisdom and strength to move the king of heroes, forging a certain alliance and securing his aid. Upon returning to his city-state of Ur, he began leading his subjects in the first mass migration of 10,000 people in human history across the Mesopotamian plain. In that era, holding such a large-scale migration during such turbulent times was shocking and awe-inspiring for its sheer audacity. It was precisely this action that greatly preserved the spark of Ur's civilization, earning the king high praise for his wisdom and courage. However, later excavations revealed little about this king. Some say he was a demigod, others claim he was an incarnation of Enki, but none of these claims are definitely proven in the epic. Likewise, no one knows the name of this king. He appeared as if from nowhere and vanished just as suddenly. No one knows his origins. What is undeniable is that this nameless king of Ur made an indelible contribution to the preservation of the 2 Rivers civilization. The spark of Sumerian civilization in the 2 Rivers. Chapter 208, MP 208, The Scheme's Drip. Drip. The viscous blood dripped into the deep pool, producing a sticky sound. In the blood fort Andromeda, the terrifying roars of countless demon beasts echoed intermittently. The increasingly dark cavern, the churning blood pool beneath, and the countless writhing monsters, it was called the domain of a goddess, but in truth, it was a demonic lair. A horrific breeding ground that birthed countless demon beasts, sweeping across Mesopotamia. At this moment, the mistress of this temple, the mother of demon beasts, Gorgon, was pierced through her body by several slender chains, suspended directly above the blood pool. Multiple wounds inflicted by the demon god pillars caused blood to continuously seep from her body. Her consciousness was manipulated, her body deliberately cut with numerous wounds, and her blood, transformed into nourishment for the temple, dripped endlessly into the pool below. As time passed, increasingly fearsome demon beasts emerged from the blood pool, twisting as they crawled out. Roar. Countless deafening roars reverberated through the blood fort Andromeda. These newly born demon beasts from the pool were stronger and far more ferocious than their predecessors, surpassing the capabilities of Gorgon's original blood fort Andromeda. Under the enhancements of numerous demon god pillars, the blood fort Andromeda had been transformed into a factory, a terrifying biological processing plant that continuously produced new demon beasts. Under the refinements of Beelzebub, Vasago, Barbados, and others, the rate and quality of the demon beasts produced by the blood fort Andromeda had significantly improved. However, relying solely on the numerical advantage of these lesser demon beasts was far from enough to breach Ruk's absolute demonic front. To ensure these beasts could break through Ruk's defenses, Several demon god pillars with unique authorities poured their life-bearing blood into the holy grail bestowed by Goetia, then used magecraft to infuse it into Gorgon's body. This granted their characteristics, producing enhanced demon beasts capable of breaking Rux's defenses. Fornius endowed the beasts with the ability to swim freely in water. Beelzebub granted them the power to spread disease and plague. Phoenix bestowed upon them the ability to soar through the skies and exceptional regenerative capabilities. Samigena gave them the power to infiltrate dreams and shatter wills. Through the efforts of these demon god pillars, a steady stream of bizarrely shaped demon beasts with terrifying powers was produced and deployed to the front lines. This caused the previously manageable demonic front to fall into an unprecedented crisis due to the addition of these demon god pillars' kin. Faced with the abnormal abilities displayed by these beasts, the soldiers defending Rux's demonic front were caught off guard. The front lines, steadfast until now, faced immense threats in an instant. If not for the protection of exceptional servants like Arjuna and Leonidas, the entire demonic front might have collapsed. In Ruck, Gilgamesh was troubled by these sudden strange demon beasts, strategizing with the summoned servants while pondering what changes had occurred in the seventh singularity. Deep within the blood fort Andromeda, in a vast and dark space, all the demon god pillars remaining in the seventh singularity were gathered. Unlike the chaotic production of demon beasts outside the palace, the inner sanctum was far more profound and silent. Within the palace, Barbados stood atop a high platform, taking the form of a middle-aged man, his expression unusually grave. Are you saying that Agars, Seer, and Irith, sent to Cutha to monitor Ereshkigal, have all lost their life signatures? Looking at the 24 remaining demon god pillar kin below, his tone carried a hint of anger. Like him, the faces of all the demon god pillars, taking human forms below, were also filled with rage. As the auras of the 24 demon god pillars fluctuated, a heavy, suffocating oppressive atmosphere filled the inner sanctum. They had started with 36 pillars. 5 were lost due to Gorgon's treacherous betrayal, and 4 more were voluntarily sacrificed to create stronger demon beasts. Now, 3 more had suddenly lost their life signatures. In such a short time, they had lost a third of their kin. This was something Barbados hadn't anticipated. Gorgon's backstabbing was his oversight, and the voluntary sacrifices for beast production could be set aside, but what was the deal with the sudden disappearance of 3 kin? Did the underworld goddess Ereshkigal take action against them? Barbados asked Marax, who had just returned from investigating, in a low voice. In this seventh singularity, there weren't many existences capable of killing 3 demon god pillars without allowing them to escape. However, Ereshkigal was indeed one of them. In the underworld, she gained unimaginable enhancements. In mythology, even Enki, one of the 4 great gods, and the god King Anu had to show sufficient respect and caution toward Ereshkigal in the underworld. If she had acted, killing 3 demon god pillars wouldn't be impossible. But before they set out, didn't I warn them to scout only around Cutha's perimeter? Did they intrude into Ereshkigal's domain? Barbados questioned. No, their life signatures disappeared at Cutha's outskirts. I'm certain Agars and the others didn't set foot in the underworld. Marax replied. Then what happened? Could Ereshkigal possess the power to instantly kill 3 demon god pillars outside the underworld? If not her, who did it? Receiving such an answer from Marax, Barbados grew increasingly agitated. I don't know. But it might not have been Ereshkigal. Why are you so certain? Because after the incident, I immediately took several others to investigate. Marax answered slowly. I didn't detect any underworld aura in the area where they died. There wasn't even a trace of combat. I only found their severed bodies around Cutha. The scene fell into dead silence. If we infer from the results, they were likely killed before they could react, without even a chance to use their true demon god pillar forms. You're saying they were instantly killed by some entity, correct? Not just Barbados, but all the demon god pillars present showed expressions of disbelief at Marax's conclusion. As the 72 demon god pillars under King Solomon's command, they knew the strength of their 3 kin well. In single combat, they might be outmatched by top-tier divine spirits like Karna or Ardana, but they were far from ordinary. Normal servants would find it extremely difficult to face even one of them, only multiple servants working together could hope to defeat them. Yet now, 3 pillars were instantly killed by some unknown entity without any resistance or trace of struggle. Such an absurd outcome, how could the demon god pillars not feel horrified? They immediately protested, that's impossible. Instantly killing 3 demon god pillars? Even divine spirits couldn't do that. What's going on? Who did this? Could it be that grand servant, Tezcatlipoca, pulling the strings? Some demon god pillars immediately pointed to the strongest known force in the 7th singularity, the grand servant. No, it wasn't him. I've been tracking the grand servant's movements. He hasn't hidden his presence. When the 3 demon god pillars died, He was racing across the Mesopotamian plain. So, the culprit shouldn't be him. Then Ishtar. No, that's impossible. That goddess, descended through possession, doesn't have such power. That meant. After continuous speculation, Barbados voiced the most likely answer. Looking at Mirax, he said, are you saying the seventh singularity is far more complex than we thought? That there's an entity hidden in this timeline capable of instantly killing 3 demon god pillars? This answer plunged the entire inner sanctum into silence. Learning that the already perilous seventh singularity harbored such an unknown and powerful enemy was far from good news for the demon god pillars. What should we do now? Should we stop monitoring the goddesses and gather our kin together? A demon god pillar raised the question. Realizing that such an entity lurked in the singularity, their previous complacency was no longer tenable. While sticking together is indeed an option, it won't do. Another demon god pillar countered. Then what should we do? What to do? Don't be impatient, my kin. The choice is actually quite simple. Mirax's voice rang out again as the demon god pillars wavered. Seeing this wise and experienced kin speak again, Barbados's furrowed brow relaxed slightly. Speak, Mirax. We all know your exceptional wisdom. Let us hear your opinion. Barbados said. As his words fell, all the demon god pillars looked at Mirax below, and a low hum echoed through the palace. Very well. Mirax nodded slightly and spoke. My kin, the answer is simple. We cannot truly die. Even being sent to this singularity by the king was merely to delay Chaldea. So, we need not concern ourselves with so-called sacrifices or killing Chaldea's master. We only need to cause them enough trouble. Our fallen kin will not truly perish, they will be revived in the king's temple, aiding in the completion of that grand plan. So, we need not feel anger or sorrow. Whether we live or die, we are fulfilling our duties, are we not? Compared to the other demon god pillars, enraged by their kin's silent deaths, Mirax's perspective was far clearer. As a demon god pillar governing wisdom, it always maintained a clear mind to make sound judgments and choose the most appropriate path. There's no need to care about sacrifices. Our task is to keep throwing more pieces onto the battlefield, applying greater pressure to the demonic front and Druk, disrupting their growing advantage as much as possible. Our deaths serve the greater plan, but their deaths mean depletion, increasing the likelihood of their failure. So, my proposal is to proceed as usual, continue monitoring all the goddesses, do everything we can to prevent Chaldea from gaining their aid. Only Barbados needs to remain to oversee the Blood Fort Andromeda's operations, while the rest of us throw ourselves into the battlefield, inflicting maximum damage on Ruk and diverting their attention. When we've sacrificed enough, and Chaldea and Ruk believe victory is near, Barbados, staying in the temple, will awaken the true protagonist of this seventh singularity, Tiamat. She will deliver the final blow to Chaldea and Ruk. What do you think of this plan? As his words concluded, Mirax slowly ascended the palace steps, standing shoulder to shoulder with Barbados. He turned to the demon god pillars below and calmly said, if there are no better suggestions, let's vote to decide whether to adopt my plan. Feasible. Seconded. No objections. The 22 demon god pillars below exchanged glances and collectively voiced their approval of Mirax's proposal. And, seeing no objections, Mirax grinned, spreading his palm to project a shimmering orb like a water mirror. As Magecraft activated, the mirror displayed a scene near Ur's rainforest. This is Quetzalcoatl's territory, so I didn't dare venture there myself. However, I set up numerous subtle detection traps around the rainforest to monitor Ur's movements. With a wave of Mirax's hand, the mirror immediately showed Karna driving a chariot at high speed. This is Karna? And a centaur pulling the chariot? What is this? Karna's familiar figure instantly drew the attention of many demon god pillars. The answer is simple. This is the intelligence my Magecraft has gathered. Mirax explained. Based on the results, that chariot-pulling centaur should also be a servant. I don't know its true name, but analysis suggests it's one of the servants summoned by Gilgamesh. This means has allied with Ruk, and Quetzalcoatl has betrayed the three-goddess alliance. Hearing Mirax's words, the demon god pillars immediately arrived at the most likely conclusion. Exactly. As expected, it's now confirmed that Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent goddess, has sided with Ruk and humanity. Mirax nodded, offering his hypothesized answer. I was already suspicious of her deliberately gathering human warriors. She claimed it was for sacrifices and gladiatorial combat, but such a flimsy excuse couldn't fool me. So, I paid extra attention to her. This situation confirms my suspicions. Quetzalcoatl is indeed a traitor. Her so-called human sacrifices were likely to protect them. And Ruk's arrival this time is probably to transfer the warriors Quetzalcoatl gathered to Ruk, filling the manpower shortage on the demonic front. I see. As expected, these goddesses are no simple foes. The demon god pillars realized, understanding Quetzalcoatl and Gilgamesh's intentions. So, what's next? Should we send demon beasts to surround her? Without Gorgon's three-goddess alliance to restrain her, Quetzalcoatl, a powerful divine spirit, won't be easy to deal with. A demon god pillar asked. Marax shook his head slightly. No, we don't need to attack directly. We just need to blockade. Blockade? Yes. With Gilgamesh's exceptional wisdom, he must know that leaving those humans in Ur is tantamount to death, so he'll do everything to transfer them to Ruk. Karna and Ruk's servant's appearance proves this. Since they're coming to us, why should we risk entering Quetzalcoatl's territory? We only need to prepare appropriate measures at the right locations. Marax raised his hand, and with a gentle wave, the water mirror expanded, displaying the entire rainforest area around Ur. If it's just servants, we can't intercept them. But with Ur's ordinary humans, it becomes much simpler. No matter how strong Quetzalcoatl and Karna are, they're still just individuals. Alone, they're hard to deal with, but with burdens, they're no longer invincible. We just need to use those burdens against them. You mean? The demon god pillar's eyes widened at Marax's words. Exactly. To prevent Ur's people from reinforcing Ruk, we must act. My target isn't just these mortals but the servants who pose the greatest obstacle to our final plan. Set an appropriate trap, use the humans as bait to lure them in, and then strike together to injure or kill them. And that fool we revived not long ago, doesn't this operation provide the perfect use for them? Chapter 209, MP 209, The Trial of the Sea Beasts. Time waits for no one. Roy and his group moved swiftly. After assigning the appropriate personnel to each route, they began organizing the necessary supplies. That very night, they set out. The night was quiet. Passing through the rainforest surrounding Ur and heading southeast for a long distance, they could see an endless expanse of sea in the distance. This sea connected to a broad river. By boarding ships here and sailing downstream, they would reach an abandoned port and ultimately arrive at Ruk. This route was secretive but also winding. In an era without illumination or navigation, sailing from the sea into the river at night was a bold plan, likely conceived only by a fearless king of heroes like Gilgamesh. Yet, it was precisely because he trusted Roy's abilities that he dared to propose such an audacious strategy. Unfurling the parchment Gilgamesh had given him, Roy examined the river route marked on it. Compared to air transport and crossing the Mesopotamian plain, the water route was equally long and fraught with peril. However, unlike crossing Mesopotamia, this path was free of demon beasts. From recent observations, demon beasts primarily operated on land. Gorgon had not produced any suited for aquatic combat. The greatest danger on this route was navigating the treacherous sea filled with reefs, thus, Roy took it upon himself to lead this route. To ensure the safety of the evacuees, the three strongest forces had to be split up. Karna, adept at aerial combat and capable of flight, led the pterodactyls to Ruk. Quetzalcoatl, a deity most effective on land, guided a portion of Ur's citizens across the Mesopotamian plain. Naturally, Roy took on the task of navigating the water route. Roy, the ships you wanted are ready. Jaguar Man, who had chosen to accompany Roy, bounded excitedly to his side, pointing to several ships docked nearby with enthusiasm. Since Ur had a tradition of fishing at sea, it had a stockpile of ships, though they had been sealed away by Quetzalcoatl after the demon beasts arrived. These ships were naturally moored near the sea. Fortunately, the sea had remained relatively stable recently. Had the ships been damaged, things would have been troublesome. Roy nodded lightly at Tyga's explanation. Then he stepped forward, walking to the edge of the vast ocean. A sea breeze blew gently, carrying a hint of salt. With no time for sentiment, he immediately instructed trusted individuals to organize Ur's citizens to board the ships and set off. With proper coordination, the boarding process went smoothly, and it didn't take long for all the citizens to complete the task. After confirming that the ship beneath his feet was fully operational, they raised the sails and began the journey. Looking up at the night sky, thick clouds obscured the stars and moonlight. On the vast, turbulent sea, waves rose and fell. The fierce winds and the dark night ahead seemed to foretell that this voyage would be anything but calm. The ship pressed on, cutting through the waves. Perhaps no one would have imagined that aboard this vessel were a Magus, a divine spirit, and thousands of true warriors striving for the future of civilization. Like the legendary Noah's Ark, this ship carried the spark of a civilization, swaying in the waves of fate, leading its people toward a distant future. Yet, the atmosphere on the ship grew heavy. What's happening? Standing at the bow, guiding the ship's path and providing illumination, Roy heard footsteps behind him. He glanced back, conjuring a bright orb of light in his hand that rose above the ship like a miniature sun, effortlessly illuminating the surrounding sea. This allowed the captain at the helm and the scouting sailors to clearly see the waters around them. So bright, Roy. Taiga, who had just calmed the crew's nerves, approached. Roy asked, "What's up, Taiga? Got something for me?" Taiga shook her head. "Nah, just settled everyone down and felt a bit bored in the cabin, so I came out for a walk." "Alright, then sit with me for a bit. The night's still long. It'll probably take another day and night to reach Ruxport." "Another day and night?" Hearing Roy's words, Taiga's perky jaguar ears drooped, and she gave a wry smile. "That's tough. Didn't expect it to take so long. But, Roy, none of this really concerns you, yet you've taken on such a huge responsibility. Why? You could have refused, right? You don't have any reason to go this far for her, do you? Unless..." Taiga's lively mind seemed to latch onto a possibility. She gasped, glanced at Roy, and exclaimed in shock, "Roy, don't tell me you've actually fallen for that clumsy, willful oddball Quetzalcoatl? You gotta think twice. If you end up with her, my good days are over." Roy turned his head, unimpressed. Then he stood, reaching out toward Taiga. Before the jaguar man could react, Roy's hand chopped down on her head. "Ow, that hurts. What's going on in that little head of yours? Quetzalcoatl and I are just friends and allies. I'm not so desperate as to fall for a servant I've known for less than a week. Besides, I already have someone I like. If I dared mess around out here, she'd probably chop me to pieces without mercy when I get back." "Huh? Wait, what? Roy, you have a girlfriend?" Taiga's gossip instincts flared up at Roy's response. Her initial curiosity about why Roy was helping her shifted to questions about this mystery woman. Who is she? Where's she from? When did this happen? How far have you gone? Are you married? Roy, in your timeline, am I already an aunt? Her lackluster mood transformed into excitement as she bombarded Roy with questions about Shiki. Unable to resist her enthusiasm, Roy gave a brief explanation about her. "She's a middle schooler." "Roy, you're really in deep trouble. But the age gap isn't that big, I guess. Still, you haven't confessed after all this time? That's worrying. If you haven't opened up after so long, what if she..." Taiga's thoughts raced as she processed Roy's story. She was happy he'd found someone but also felt a twinge of jealousy. Was a great guy like Roy destined to be taken? But that jealousy quickly faded, replaced by concern and well wishes. After all, Roy seemed sharp but was a complete emotional dunce when it came to talking. What era was this, pulling the old "I'll confess after this battle" cliché and setting up flags? If he liked her, he should just go for it and win already. And the girl was a piece of work too. If she liked him, why not just say it? Why were they dancing around like this? If they missed their chance for some reason, there'd been no place to cry. Something's wrong. Just as Taiga was about to leverage her non-existent romantic expertise to lecture Roy on how to handle Shiki, she frowned. Her keen jaguar man instincts sensed something approaching from a distance. And there's a lot of magical energy surging on the sea. At the bow, Roy's pupils narrowed as his ice blue mystic eyes emerged. Like Taiga's instincts, his mystic eyes caught something unusual. Something was indeed coming toward them from the sea ahead, and in great numbers. Boom. Before he could think, the ship shuddered. Waves splashed in the dark sea. So much magical energy, and their existence is strange. These things have no souls. Black shadows, riding the waves, began climbing onto the ship. When Roy saw their true forms, he froze, then issued an immediate order. "Everyone, retreat to the cabins now. This magical energy, this soulless existence. These weren't things humans could easily handle. Especially on a ship, far from land, where Earth's soldiers' combat ability would be severely hampered. Fighting these unknown demon beasts on a swaying deck was tantamount to sending them to their deaths. They're demon beasts, Roy. So many, and a kind we've never seen before." Taiga shouted, wielding her oddly shaped spear to strike down the beasts climbing aboard. "What's going on?" Demon beasts were supposed to be active only on the Mesopotamian plain. "We've never seen ones that can move freely in the sea like this, and in such numbers. It seems we've fallen into the enemy's trap. They must have known about our migration plan and set this ambush in these waters." What was happening? Was it Gorgon? No, probably not. From both his own knowledge and Quetzalcoatl's intelligence, Gorgon didn't have this level of cunning. There must be something else at play. And what were these fishmen-like demon beasts? Where did they come from? The Blood Fort Andromeda hadn't produced such creatures before. Had his involvement caused such a drastic change in the seventh singularity? Though questions swirled in his mind, now wasn't the time to ponder. The surrounding waters roared, and no one knew how many more of these fishmen-like demon beasts remained. But the only thing they could do was eliminate them to the best of their ability. Roy locked eyes with Taiga and said, "I'll handle the beasts ahead. The ones behind are yours." "Got it, Roy." Taiga nodded in response. Boom. The ship shook more violently. On the deck, as more demon beasts boarded, swirling ocean currents, storms, and terrifying magical energy tore through the air, whipping up fierce waves. The ship beneath their feet was a massive vessel, once used by for sea voyages. But now, this ship, which had conquered countless oceans, swayed in the currents, rocking between relentless waves. It seemed ready to capsize at any moment. In moments, hundreds of fishmen-like demon beasts had climbed onto the deck, surrounding the two. Their faces were grotesque, their eyes bloodthirsty, and they charged forward, eager to drink blood. Then, amid a deafening roar, Roy stood at the bow, his ice blue eyes like twin sapphires, piercing the night to see ahead. Beneath the dark sea, several massive tentacles broke the surface, writhing and stirring up enormous waves. Roy saw clearly, it was a giant octopus-like sea beast, waving its tentacles to whip up waves, attempting to drag their ship into the depths. If those waves hit, the ship would be swallowed in an instant, and all the warriors would perish. That could not be allowed. Facing the sea beast in the endless ocean, this was Roy's only thought. His ice blue eyes cut through the night, locking onto the beast's wheel-sized pupils. Then, he slowly raised his fingers, forming a finger gun in a familiar stance. Mana flow, full power, annihilation mode. Boom. A dazzling white light tore through the night sky, piercing the roiling sea. The light from his fingertips erupted with terrifying heat and kinetic energy in an instant. Like a meteor, the blinding light effortlessly shredded everything in its path. Roar. The massive sea beast didn't even have time to roar. A gaping hole was blasted through its body. In an instant, the white light claimed its life, and its enormous form sank into the deep ocean. Chapter 210, MP 210, The All-Out Assault of the Demon Beasts. I never would have thought the sea would harbor such demon beasts. But Roy, you're just absurdly strong, taking down that terrifying monster in an instant. Jaguar Man's hearty laughter echoed across the storm-tossed deck. She laughed boisterously on the vast sea, swinging her spear to impale the few remaining fishmen-like demon beasts on the deck, then casually tossing them overboard. Boom. Taiga, don't get careless. Finish this quickly. I got it, Roy. Amid the raging storm and her laughter, they exchanged a glance, their forms weaving across the deck, swiftly eliminating the remaining fishman demon beasts. In moments, the corpses of the fishmen that had climbed from the sea piled into a small mountain on the deck. The deck reeked of seawater's saltiness mixed with the pungent stench of blood, causing Taiga and Roy to wrinkle their noses. It's finally over. Roy let out a breath, his tense nerves easing. The battle, though seemingly effortless, was only so for them as master and servant. The true target of these demon beasts wasn't them but the ship they stood on, their vital transport. If the beasts had succeeded, or if that giant octopus-like sea beast had entangled the ship, it would have shattered in the storm in an instant. If that happened, while Roy could escape with Taiga from the wreckage, the thousands aboard would perish, becoming fodder for these creatures. During the fight, to avoid damaging the ship, they couldn't use high-powered attacks to wipe out the beasts en masse. They had to resort to simpler, close-quarters combat, turning the battle into a melee to eliminate the fishmen. With their overwhelming strength, they quickly dispatched the beasts. Afterward, Taiga released the anxious soldiers waiting in the cabins. As the demon beasts were vanquished, the turbulent sea calmed. The storm brought by the giant sea beast subsided, leaving the night tranquil. Moonlight spilled from the starry sky. The sea's surface shimmered with ripples, the fishmen's corpses floating around the ship. What just happened? Taiga opened the cabin doors, releasing the soldiers, who were met with an overpowering stench of blood. On the deck, the blood of the fishman demon beasts mixed with seawater, chunks of flesh floating in the pooling blood that soon soaked the soldiers' shoes. The gruesome scene, though they hadn't witnessed the battle, spoke to its ferocity through the blood and remains. Faced with so many sea beasts, their king and goddess had told them to hide, confronting the enemy alone. This filled soldiers with shame. They were the warriors meant for the battlefield, yet they could only cower behind their king, like children awaiting protection? But why were there sea beasts? Weren't they driven out by Lord Inky long ago? The sudden appearance of these terrifying creatures left soldiers both shaken and puzzled. While Mesopotamia's seas did harbor some sea beasts, their numbers were never this great. Thanks to the people's devout faith in Inky, one of the four great gods, they had earned his protection. To safeguard his beloved humans, Inky had personally driven most sea beasts from the ocean, ensuring safe fishing for Mesopotamia's people. From then on, the seas and rivers around Mesopotamia had been calm, with sea beasts rarely appearing. So what was this deadly scene? Had the goddess of demon beasts' arrival brought not only land beasts but also sea creatures back? The thought crossed their minds. Ha ha ha, it's all good now. Roy and I took care of all those beasts. Unlike the soldiers, Taiga didn't take the small fry seriously. She approached the rattled soldiers, reassuring them. Unlike these land-bound natives, though a jungle goddess, she wasn't limited to fighting in forests. Even on a ship, where she was less adept, those fishmen were mere entertainment. Even the one sea beast she took seriously was obliterated by a single blast from Roy's fingertip. Still, like the soldiers, Taiga was puzzled. Why had so many sea beasts appeared in this sea, right on their route? Given their scale, this was no mere coincidence. Though usually carefree, Taiga grew cautious in critical moments, especially since she wasn't alone and had to protect these mortals. Roy, have our movements been exposed? Realizing the most likely possibility, Taiga turned, looking at Roy questioningly. Yeah. I doubt I'm wrong. Our little plan has been found out. Roy nodded, pondering. Could it be Gorgon? No, probably not. She's too focused on the demonic front to have this kind of cunning. But with King dead, who's the enemy? Though I don't know who, they've definitely outplayed us this time. After thinking, Roy couldn't pinpoint a clear answer. He looked at Taiga and said, they clearly knew we'd take the sea route. They set up a ton of demon beasts here to tear us apart. This means our alliance with Ruck is fully exposed. They found out? Taiga grumbled, annoyed. All their hard work, and they'd walked into the enemy's trap. Anyone would be frustrated. But she didn't keep clowning or pressing for answers. She raised a hand, signaling the chattering soldiers to quiet down, standing silently as Roy sat at the bow, eyes closed, trying to contact Quetzalcoatl Karna via command spells. A faint ripple of magical energy spread, and after a brief attempt, Roy slowly opened his eyes. Impressive tactics. They've used magecraft to jam magical communication in the sea. His attempt to use command spells had failed. When the fishman demon beasts appeared, he'd sensed the magical energy around the sea was blocked by a strange barrier. This prevented him from contacting Quetzalcoatl Karna to check their situations. The situation was now clear. Even though he'd preemptively eliminated a major threat in the seventh singularity, King Gorgon's side hadn't lost its strategist or threat as expected. Instead, some unforeseen change had occurred. Though he didn't know who, someone was orchestrating things behind the demon beasts. They'd clearly anticipated Quetzalcoatl's potential betrayal of the Three Goddess Alliance, confirmed it, and set traps on their migration routes, sending sea beasts to intercept them. That meant, not just here, but the other two routes, Quetzalcoatl's and Karna's, were likely facing similar or worse situations. This made Roy anxious. He glanced back at the worried soldiers on the deck, sighed, and spoke. I'm sorry, everyone. I've dragged you into this. As your leader, my misjudgment led to this situation. What are you saying, King? Didn't we ask you to take us to Ruck? You told us this path would come with danger and sacrifice, so this is normal, isn't it? No one here blames you. If anyone should apologize, it's us for being such burdens. Compared to you and the goddess, we're too weak, unable to offer real help in battle, only weighing you down. Words of comfort poured from the soldiers. Despite the perilous scene, they didn't complain or blame Roy, their decision-maker. Having faced despair before, they understood their current predicament was the result of their own choices. They couldn't resent anyone and wouldn't regret their decisions. Even if they perished in this deep sea, they'd only lament not reaching Ruck to contribute to the demonic front, but they'd never regret it. Given another chance, they'd still resolutely choose to cross this sea to humanity's last bastion. You guys really? Roy looked at these soldiers, who remained optimistic despite the crisis, and gave a helpless smile. My finest subjects. Though he was worried about Quetzalcoatl Karna, as these remarkable warriors said, now wasn't the time for complaints or self-pity. He had to fulfill his duty as a leader, crossing this sea to lead everyone to their destination. Taiga. Here. Hearing Roy call her name, Jaguar Man perked up instantly. Keep enough soldiers to maintain the ship's operations. The rest should return to the cabins to rest. We're setting sail again. We'll cross this sea and reach our destination, Ruck. Sensing the growing magical energy and the rippling sea ahead, Roy clenched his fists, readying himself. Compared to Roy's side, Gilgamesh, in Ruck's divine tower, was nearly overwhelmed. The throne was surrounded by people, their faces anxious, clutching Ruck's battle reports, awaiting the king's decisions. King, a new type of demon beast has appeared on the northern front. King, massive pillar-like demon beasts have appeared on the southern front. King, flying demon beasts have breached the Great Barrier and entered Ruck City. King. As his subordinates reported the dire situations at the front and in Ruck, even Gilgamesh, atop his throne, felt a headache. Endless. He couldn't help but mutter. Shortly after Roy's departure, the demonic front had undergone a drastic change. Strange demon beasts, appearing from nowhere, flooded the battlefield, far weirder and stronger than before. Faced with these sudden creatures, the demonic front's defenses faltered instantly. Ordinary human soldiers could barely resist these beasts. Without the aid of servants like Ardina, Spartacus, Merlin, and Leonidas, Ruck's situation would be even worse. Those wretched demon beasts couldn't wait any longer to destroy Ruck. But what I didn't expect was the demon god pillars getting involved. This is a bad situation. Those damned demon god pillars dare to meddle in my kingdom. They deserve death. Gilgamesh cursed, reviewing clay tablets and handling reports from various fronts. He handed several inscribed tablets to a servant below, speaking slowly. These are my strategies for countering the flying unplagued demon beasts. Take them to Merlin at the southern front. Tell him to return to the Divine Tower immediately and reinforce Ruck's defensive barrier with me. And Siduri. Gilgamesh looked at the high priestess below. Yes, king? No time for further probing. Bring Chaldea's group to the demonic front. Tell them I've agreed to the alliance. Have them join the defense. Their strength will be a significant asset now. As you command, king. As for the other demon beasts, I haven't devised effective strategies yet. For now, have Ardina and Leonidas hold the line. Under no circumstances let those wretched beasts cross the demonic front, understood? Yes. As his subordinates dispersed to their posts, Gilgamesh, on his throne, sighed, his crimson eyes heavy with fatigue. He gazed into the distance, silently lamenting. The time for the decisive battle was approaching so quickly. King of when will you return? The situation is far from optimistic. Chapter 211, MP 211, Carving a Path of Bloodbang. A heavy fist, brimming with power, slammed down from the sky, effortlessly tearing the earth apart and kicking up a massive cloud of dust. Spinning, leaping, and then flying kick. Quetzalcoatl soared into the air, channeling mana to envelop her fist in flames and light, striking directly at the demon god pillars. Amid the swirling dust, 6 towering pillars of flesh, glowing with eerie light, unleashed torrents of terrifying mana, targeting the blonde figure charging toward them at breakneck speed. Incineration ritual. Incineration ritual. Countless blinding, terrifying lasers shot from the countless eyes of the demon god pillars, locking onto Quetzalcoatl as she sped across the ground. Careful. Nay. What kind of attack is this? Seeing the endless purple beams erupting in the sky, Li Xuan and Red Hair, tasked with escorting the group alongside Quetzalcoatl, widened their eyes and shouted warnings. Boom. Before their voices could fully carry, a deafening explosion roared in their ears. The violent shockwaves from the immense mana made Li Xuan grimace, while the soldiers behind him were stunned by the terrifying spectacle. This was a realm beyond their reach, a battle between gods and monsters. Though they were still far from the battlefield, Li Xuan and Red Hair could easily sense that each laser from the demon god pillars carried power rivaling at least a B-rank noble phantasm. And they were firing so many at once? To unleash such devastating barrages, each demon god pillar's strength was at least on par with theirs, if not greater. Locked onto by multiple high-powered noble phantasm-like beams, even Ruck's 2 warriors, aware of Quetzalcoatl's divine status, couldn't help but worry. Ryder, stay here and help her soldiers fend off the demon beasts. I'll go assist her. Got it. Red Hair nodded. Concerned about the battle, Li Xuan instructed Red Hair before rolling up his sleeves, ready to join the fray and support Quetzalcoatl. He wasn't sure if his martial arts expertise could affect these bizarre entities, but he couldn't just stand by while Quetzalcoatl faced them alone. Even if his strength fell short, he had to try and ease her burden. The migration had started smoothly. An hour after Karna and Roy set out on the air and sea routes, their land migration began. To ensure success, the 3 strongest members led separate routes. Originally, their duo would have sufficed, but when they heard about flying, both Li Xuan and Red Hair refused outright. For Li Xuan, a martial artist needed solid ground to maintain balance and leverage for combat readiness. Flying, strapped to a pterodactyl, was like binding his hands and feet. If trouble struck in the sky, he'd be useless, only hindering Karna. Red Hair was even more adamant. A 4-hooved terrestrial creature, it questioned whether it could fight in the air, let alone whether Quetzalcoatl's pet pterodactyls would even carry such a beast. If it joined Karna in the sky, it'd be liability. Though it expressed a desire to try the rider role, Quetzalcoatl vetoed it. With neither Li Xuan nor Red Hair going, and Quetzalcoatl indispensable as a high-end combatant, the air route was left entirely to Karna. Fortunately, Karna was reliable, powerful and meticulous. Entrusting soldiers to him gave Quetzalcoatl and Roy peace of mind. The sea, land, and air migration plan, devised by Gilgamesh and led by Roy, had initially proceeded smoothly. They encountered no major threats, only occasional stray demon beasts on the plains, which Red Hair and Li Xuan swiftly dispatched. Until, they were halfway through, just half a day from Ruck. At this critical moment of near success, countless strange demon beasts emerged from nowhere. Vast in number, ferocious in demeanor, and joined by terrifying entities called demon god pillars, they ambushed from all directions. Even Quetzalcoatl found the sudden situation daunting. Their appearance here meant the enemy was prepared. Caught in the middle of the journey, retreating to was no longer an option. Success or failure, they had to press on to Rock. Roy had foreseen this risk before departure, informing Quetzalcoatl and soldiers of the necessary dangers. It was only a possibility then, but now the worst had come to pass. Reaching this point, Quetzalcoatl, the team's strongest asset and linchpin, made a decisive call. She tasked Li Xuan and Red Hair with leading the soldiers to break through, while she handled the demon god pillars. Soldiers didn't disappoint her. Despite the sudden peril, they didn't panic or lose their will to fight. Worthy of being her chosen warriors, they were exceptional humans, deserving to pass down their spirit and lineage. Kill. Brandishing their weapons, they followed Red Hair's lead, engaging in fierce combat with the demon beasts on the plain. Blazing lasers lit up the night sky, their terrifying heat and kinetic energy scorching the Mesopotamian plain under the demon god pillar's gaze. Oh? 6 against 1? You're quite enthusiastic. But Onsan already has a chosen king, so I'll have to pass. Facing the 6 demon god pillars sealing the space with their incineration ritual, Quetzalcoatl remained unfazed, deftly countering with agile movements. Whoosh! She spun the shield adorned with strange patterns in her right hand, raising it to block the pillar's attacks, while her left hand gripped a serrated sword, following up swiftly. Take this. Monsters without limbs can't wrestle for a clash of body and soul. So try my slicing technique. Boom, boom, boom. Thunderous roars erupted as her shield blocked the magical cannons, and the serrated sword's terrifying energy tore through the beams, illuminating the night sky. With Quetzalcoatl's immense power, her sword effortlessly shredded the pillar's beams. The clash of opposing mana created a blinding white light, drawing all eyes. After the fierce explosion, the surrounding landscape was transformed by their clash, crimson flames on one side, charred earth on the other. Quetzalcoatl stood amid the rising sea of fire, her serrated sword pointed at the demon god pillars, her eyes blazing with fury and resolve. The pillars fell silent. After the exchange, they had gauged Quetzalcoatl's strength. She was strong, absurdly so. Without even using her noble phantasm, she overpowered 6 demon god pillars, holding a clear advantage. Compared to Gorgon, this blonde goddess was unbelievably powerful. As expected of the Aztec chief god, Quetzalcoatl. Her speed and strength were flawless, even with her Saint Graph constrained, her power was unreasonably immense. 6 pillars working together couldn't inflict meaningful damage. If she weren't protecting the nearby migrating mortals, unable to act freely or use her noble phantasm, they might have been torn apart by her hands. Retaining Rider's high mobility, her strength was more akin to a power-focused berserker than a typical rider. A single punch could deform even the indestructible bodies of the demon god pillars, followed by a dazzling combo from her serrated sword, sending them back to the Temple of Time. 7 pillars had appeared, but now only 6 remained. The one instantly killed by her opening combo was proof of her prowess. This served as a warning: against this outrageously powerful divine spirit, brute force was futile, and carelessness was fatal. Barring the confirmed Grand Berserker, Tezcatlipoca, Quetzalcoatl was likely Chaldea's strongest ally. The demon god pillars shifted tactics, summoning more specialized demon beasts from the Mesopotamian plain, instantly surrounding the migrating army to slow them and hinder Quetzalcoatl's combat. Assassin, don't worry about me. Go protect the soldiers and get them out of here. Seeing Li Xuan break from the group to aid her, Quetzalcoatl frowned and shouted. She cared more about soldiers than her own foes. These were her chosen humans, treasures of humanity. She had promised her king to deliver them safely to Rock, and she had to keep that vow. But you. Li Xuan tried to protest, but Quetzalcoatl cut him off sternly. Don't mind me. They're just the king of Magecraft's lapdogs. I can handle them alone. Get out of here, I'll catch up. Alright, be careful. Seeing her resolve, Li Xuan didn't argue, retreating to Red Hair's side to assist. Ignoring a comrade wasn't his style, but this wasn't the time for bravado or indecision. Without trust and coordination, people would die. They'd been ambushed, and their priority was to break through quickly. No time to waste on these demon god pillars and beasts, they had to escape now. Rider. Seeing the growing number of demon beasts, Li Xuan called to Red Hair ahead. Got it, assassin. Let's lead the soldiers and break out. Red Hair didn't hesitate, letting out a whinny to signal understanding. Though not a true strategist or general, it had fought countless battles alongside its heroic masters. Even without formal military training, its experience far surpassed Li Xuan's, a mere martial artist, making it the best choice to lead the breakout. Nay. Soldiers behind me, follow my lead and charge. Mimicking its former master, Red Hair rallied the army's morale. The crimson steed shot forward like lightning, charging into the demon beast horde, wielding its spear to slaughter enemies. Kill. 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 Shedding its usual playful demeanor, red hairs or a turned razor sharp, tearing through the beasts like a wolf among sheep. 1 slash sent flesh flying. 2 slashes sent heads rolling. 3 slashes made enemies tremble. Its valor inspired the soldiers behind. The able-bodied soldiers gripped their spears, bravely following the blood-soaked path Red Hair carved. Ha ha ha, is this the thrill of ancient heroes slaying enemies on the battlefield? Exhilarating. Truly exhilarating. I'm fired up. Following Red Hair, Li Xuan picked up a fallen spear, wielding it like a lance, twirling it with flair. He kept pace with Red Hair, laughing as he fought. Swoosh. One thrust pierced a demon beast's skull, flinging it aside as blood sprayed. Then a second thrust, a third, a fourth, and more. More beasts fell to the spear of this elderly master, becoming mere ghosts. Li Xuan felt his blood boil on this perilous battlefield. Together with Red Hair, he led the soldiers in a frenzied assault. Nay. Get out of my way, or die. Come on, beast cubs, let's spar with this old man. 2 battle-crazed warriors, on this deadly field, led the soldiers to tear open a gap, forging a perilous path of blood and slaughter. Chapter 212, MP 212, The Divine Demon Beast, Humbaba. The King of Magecraft's lapdogs. The demon god Pillar's eyes blazed with barely contained fury at Quetzalcoatl's scathing insult. Quetzalcoatl, you mere foolish deity, what could you possibly understand? Our grand cause, our resolve, our dreams, and everything about that king, how much do you even know? A mere god, an outdated relic cast aside by time, dares to judge our king's great work with your narrow vision? Their voices trembled with rage, their gazes toward Quetzalcoatl filled with murderous intent. Incineration ritual. Blinding beams erupted once more into the night, their power even more terrifying, fueled by the pillar's ignited fury. Quetzalcoatl's words had understandably enraged them. They would not tolerate insults to themselves or their great king. Their ideals could not be sullied or trampled. They were driven to fulfill that grand plan and mission, to reshape a more perfect world. Chaldea, Ruk, and Quetzalcoatl were enemies obstructing this great work. To fulfill their king's legacy, they had to be eliminated. No longer holding back, the demon god pillars focused their mana, locked their sights, and unleashed their strongest attacks, aiming to kill Chaldea's mightiest warrior. Oh? Got you all riled up, did I? But what's so respectable about a king who betrays humanity? Dodging swiftly across the plain, Quetzalcoatl retorted fiercely, closing in on a demon god pillar. She raised her serrated sword and mercilessly tore through its body. You're nothing but accomplices. What right do you have to lecture me? I didn't expect you vile creatures to personally show up in this timeline and ally with Gorgon. But if you think mere demon god pillars can take me down, you're underestimating me. I am the feathered serpent goddess. Her voice rang out as she channeled mana, her serrated sword igniting with blazing flames. As the Aztec sun god and ruler of the Second Sun Age, her solar fire wielded power and heat surpassing even Karna's. PFFT, underestimate. No, we wouldn't dare underestimate you, divine spirit. The pillar she'd bisected sneered mockingly, showing no fear or emotional wavering despite its fatal wound, only endless derision. What did you say? Quetzalcoatl's expression turned icy. Ha ha, nothing, nothing. But compared to those insignificant mortals, no matter how many, or that strange boy, your value is far greater, Quetzalcoatl. Don't worry, you'll understand soon. With its final mocking words, the slain pillar lost its life. Its dying taunt left Quetzalcoatl with an ominous feeling. Meanwhile, the remaining 5 pillars had no time to mourn another fallen kin. They swiftly repositioned, surrounding Quetzalcoatl laid in a formation of 4 supporting pillars, channeling mana to form a barrier that trapped her at the center. A barrier? Seeing the pillar's trick, Quetzalcoatl frowned, withdrawing her serrated sword from the slain pillar. She glanced at the barrier, a mocking smile on her lips. You don't think this level of barrier magecraft can seal me, do you? No, of course we're not that naive. But since we said you're our target, we've made foolproof preparations. The lead pillar added, and now is your end, Quetzalcoatl. Her unease growing at the pillar's dying words, Quetzalcoatl decided not to linger in the barrier. Gripping her weapon, she prepared to tear it apart and escape. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At that moment, her expression hardened. Piercing shrieks and an instinctive alarm made her frown. As she considered her escape, several mana-infused, razor-sharp spears of earth shot toward her like arrows, accompanied by a beastly roar, roar. What's that? The ground surged, countless sharp earthen spikes erupting, blocking her footing. A terrifying flame burst from the earth. Simultaneously, the surrounding pillars forming the barrier unleashed mana, attacking Quetzalcoatl in midair. Using her weapon and midair maneuvers to dodge most attacks, she still took a direct hit from the sudden flames rising from the ground. Ugh! Even as a sun goddess, her servant body struggled against the monolaced flames, her expression darkening. The presence before her grew more tangible. An enemy with an earthy aura, on a divine level. It had been lying in wait, biding its time for this ambush. Roar! The demon beast Humbaba burst from the earth, its deafening roar shaking the air. Thanks to the demon god pillar's machinations, most of Kingu's intellect had been erased, leaving only basic sentience for communicating with Tiamat. In battle, Humbaba's beastly instincts took over, turning it into a creature driven solely by slaughter and obedience. Humbaba? Seeing the massive beast, Quetzalcoatl's face tightened, recognizing its true identity. Its colossal body melded with the earth, resembling a lion, radiating terrifying mana. Its roars summoned fierce storms, its maw spat meteoric flames, and a never-present aura of death enveloped it. The beast's identity was unmistakable, the great earth beast, guardian of the jungle, Humbaba, from the Epic of Gilgamesh, a creature even the gods found troublesome. Now, somehow resurrected by the demon god pillars. But that aura. Sensing a familiar presence, Quetzalcoatl tentatively called out, "Kingu?" Roar. But only Humbaba, fully merged with Kingu, answered with a deafening roar and a barrage of golden weapons raining down. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The relentless storm of noble phantasms, paired with its fiery breath, gave Quetzalcoatl pause. As the guardian of the Golden City's gates, Humbaba wielded the authority to use the world's treasures, a power Gilgamesh gained after slaying it. Unlike Gilgamesh's lavish barrages, Humbaba used fewer but immensely powerful and varied noble phantasms, amplified by its flames and the watchful demon god pillars. Facing this onslaught, Quetzalcoatl finally understood the pillars' claim that she was their target. Humbaba and so many pillars had let the other two servants go to isolate her. The battlefield no longer held just the initial 6 pillars. With Humbaba's arrival, 5 more appeared, joining the ambush and attacking simultaneously. Incineration ritual. Terrifying lasers swept in again, forcing Quetzalcoatl to evade. Not just a divine-level beast but over a dozen demon god pillars? You're really going all out. Putting in this much effort to kill me. Facing 15 demon god pillars and Humbaba, Quetzalcoatl's calm demeanor vanished. No matter how strong, she was still a servant. Facing these enemies was overwhelming. Their barrier and coordination were too troublesome. If this dragged on, she'd be worn down. In this situation, her only option was to unleash her noble phantasm. Even then, she wasn't sure she could escape safely, especially with Gorgon still absent and unknown trump cards in play. But she had no choice, she had to fight. Even if she fell here, she'd take out these troublesome pillars to ease her master's future battles. As Quetzalcoatl steeled herself to unleash her noble phantasm, an invisible black hand from Humbaba slipped past her vision, reaching for her. What's that? Her face stiffened, sensing the imminent threat just as it closed in. As she prepared to surge mana, sever the arm, and escape? Something was coming. Chapter 213, MP 213. I'll hold the line. Just as they were about to swarm and eliminate the 7th Singularity's most troublesome foe, a terrifying surge of mana appeared on the distant horizon. It was racing toward their battlefield at breakneck speed. Danger. Humbaba and the demon god pillars' gazes sharpened, their countless eyes swiveling to the sky. They unleashed attacks toward a crimson fireball hurtling through the night. Roar. Blazing red flames, infused with mana, ignited an inferno before them. A crimson thunder lance shot forth, and as the fiery sea and figure landed on the ground, they charged with overwhelming force, clashing with a demon god pillar below. Splat. The sound of a lance-piercing flesh rang out, accompanied by flames searing through tissue. The sheer power shook the earth. In the next moment, amid the flames, Karna, clad in golden armor, shone brilliantly. His right eye blazed with radiant heat as he locked gazes with the pierced demon god pillar. Without hesitation, in a mere instant, both sides desperately channeled mana. Incineration ritual. Oh Brahma, curse me. Brahmastra Kundala. Boom. A thunderous explosion echoed through the night. Crimson and purple beams collided, their searing light illuminating the darkness before splitting apart. Scorched earth lay beneath the lance, the unknown demon god pillar reduced to ash. Standing on the blackened ground was the son of the sun god, Karna. Taking the brunt of the pillar's suicidal attack, even in his golden armor, Karna felt the toll. The pain rivaled his clashes with Arjuna. But trading his wounds for a demon god pillar was a worthwhile outcome. Huff. Huff. Panting, Karna stepped through the flames onto the battlefield. Seizing the gap created by the pillar's sudden death, Quetzalcoatl escaped the barrier, foiling Humbaba and the pillar's plan to trap her. On sans out. Rubbing her neck, Quetzalcoatl frowned at the youth. You really saved me, Karna. How's your side? Did everyone you were transporting reach Ruck? Seeing Karna appear and break her out, Quetzalcoatl's worries eased. His presence here meant the citizens on the air route had safely reached Ruck. Yes, they've reached Ruck. There were demon beasts in the air, but I could handle their numbers. However, Ruck's situation is dire. The demon beasts have launched an all-out assault, and the city is preparing for war. I was concerned about you, so I came to check. Karna answered earnestly. An all-out assault? That makes sense, especially with these demon god pillars involved. Quetzalcoatl shook her head, sighing. Thanks to you, or I'd have been in real trouble. Let's team up and take out these wretched pillars. You handle that beast, I'll deal with the rest. She pointed at Humbaba, now enraged and roaring at Karna's arrival. Having been killed once by Karna, Roy, and others, Kingu's hatred for the Son of the Sun was etched into its core. Even transferred to Humbaba's body and stripped of intellect, that hatred remained. Seeing Karna again, its fury was inevitable. This was why Quetzalcoatl entrusted Karna with holding Humbaba. But before she could finish, Karna shook his head, refusing. No, there's no time. What do you mean, no time? Quetzalcoatl was puzzled. On my way here, I saw Mesopotamia's situation from the sky. Karna's expression grew grave. Demon beasts, countless demon beasts, are converging from all directions. Assassin and rider can't hold them off alone. You need to go help them now, Quetzalcoatl. Hearing Karna's words, Quetzalcoatl frowned, warily eyeing the numerous demon god pillars and the roaring Humbaba. What about here? I doubt they'll just let us walk away. I know. Karna understood her concern, which was why he come. Go, Quetzalcoatl. If you hurry, you can still make it. Leave these enemies to me. As he spoke, Karna's lithe frame trembled, his golden armor quaking. His face showed strain as powerful mana and flames gathered around him. Are you serious? Seeing Karna stand resolute, Quetzalcoatl's expression was one of disbelief. She knew Karna was among the top servants, but facing over a dozen demon god pillars, plus a monstrous beast like Humbaba, which even she found troublesome, was another matter. If Karna faced them alone, the outcome? I'm serious. Quetzalcoatl, go now. Escort those soldiers to Ruck. Leave these enemies to me. Before finishing, Karna's body was enveloped in solar flames. Trembling, he gazed at the pillars, his eyes blazing. A searing beam infused with Brahma's power intercepted their attacks. Clutching his eyes, his body shaking as if suppressing something, Karna roared at Quetzalcoatl, go now, Quetzalcoatl. I'll handle these enemies. Trust me, I won't let them pursue you. But what about you? Sensing Karna's actions and the changes in his aura, Quetzalcoatl couldn't help but ask. As for me, it doesn't matter. This is the task my master gave me, and I'll complete it, even if it costs my life. If you can, please tell an archer named Ardena in Ruck that I'm sorry, I might have to break our promise for this battle. Looking at Karna, who had made his resolve, she was at a loss for words. Though she wanted to dissuade him, she couldn't speak. Now, go. For our master's orders and the battles ahead, these demon god pillars will be a massive threat to Ruck's demonic front if they reach the battlefield. So I'll take as many of them with me as I can. With his words, the mana and flames on Karna's golden armor erupted fully. Chapter 214, MP 214, O Son, abide by death. Demon god pillars. And demon beast. Karna gazed at the pillars and Humbaba through the dust, speaking solemnly, enemies threatening humanity's order, behold the mercy of the King of all gods. As the hero of charity intoned the true name of his noble phantasm, the crimson gem embedded in his chest began to glow. A fiercer solar flame ignited around him, his golden armor peeling and shattering. He floated into the air, transforming into a blazing miniature sun. Karna's mana reached its peak, the erupting force radiating a lethal threat to all demon god pillars present. What is this power? Roar. Under the scorching solar flames, even Humbaba let out an uneasy roar. Blinding crimson light bloomed in the night sky. His golden armor shed, the god-slaying lance unleashed. This was Karna's most destructive moment, but also his most vulnerable, his life at its most perilous. In life, Karna's loss of his solar armor to Indra's deception led to his death at Arjuna's hands. The golden lance in his hand dulled, replaced by a dark red thunder lance that struck fear into the gods. As the crimson thunder lance materialized, the world turned red, golden lightning dancing in the night, banishing the darkness. The demon god pillars, surrounded by endless flames, stared in shock, sensing an irrepressible threat from the lance. Their flesh and skin seemed to burn under its presence. This deadly oppression, this unease, what was it? What is this? Why? How can you wield such power? A mere servant, yet you make us tremble? Wrapped in crimson flames, the pillars roared in agony, the terrifying heat nearly melting them. This looming sense of death made it impossible to control their emotions. The god-slaying lance. Such terrifying power. Even as a chief goddess, I can't help but feel wary, even afraid. Karna, the son of another pantheon's sun god. Quetzalcoatl gazed at the lance in Karna's hands, her eyes tinged with awe. No wonder he placed such high hopes in you. No servant he trusts is ever simple. I owe you a huge debt this time. She spoke while hurling the charging Humbaba away, raising her shield to block the pillar's fierce attacks, aiding Karna's noble phantasm activation. When the moment ripened, she nodded to Karna and, without hesitation, escaped through the gap he'd torn open. She understood Karna's resolve and the irreversible nature of his noble phantasm. Lingering to dissuade him would only insult his pure will. She wasn't an indecisive goddess and wouldn't waste the precious opportunity Karna was sacrificing for. After fending off enemies trying to interrupt his noble phantasm, Quetzalcoatl leaped, swiftly exiting its range. The god-slaying lance, as its name implied, was a weapon capable of killing gods, the supreme artifact granted to Karna by Indra, his strongest weapon. Its legend elevated it as a servant's weapon, imbued with terrifying anti-divine properties. As a servant with high divinity, being targeted by this noble phantasm would mean more than mere injury. Even if she wanted to stay and help, their incompatible natures would only hinder each other. So, Quetzalcoatl decisively withdrew, escaping Karna's noble phantasm range at top speed. Thank you. Seeing Quetzalcoatl block Humbaba's attack and leave, Karna, floating in midair, nodded, a faint smile on his lips. No intricate assistance or side-by-side combat was needed. Coordinating on the battlefield without hindering each other was the mark of ideal comrades. Master, I'm sorry. I may not be able to continue this journey with you. But I believe you're a truly noble soul, a powerful and destined one. With you, I'm certain you'll overcome all obstacles and save this era. Arjuna, I'm sorry. I might have to leave the stage first. I'm breaking our promise. But don't worry, our battle will never fade. Even if we miss this chance, I believe we'll settle our fated duel in the near future. I know your strength, so I hope you'll take my place and help our master save this crumbling era. Now, here I go. The crimson world engulfed the night sky. A ferocious thunderbolt was firmly gripped in his hand. Karna, now a sun, hung in the endless night, like his father Surya or Mesopotamia's Shamash, becoming a radiant sun illuminating the land. Clutching the god-slaying lance, manifested at the cost of his golden armor, he held a single, divine strike capable of slaying gods. Oh Surya, bear witness. There is no room for hesitation on the battlefield. Oh Father, forgive me. This will be my first and likely last strike. Buzz. As his noble phantasm fully activated, crimson light wings unfurled behind Karna, enveloping him. The thunder lance, blazing with solar flames, aimed at the cornered demon god pillars below. His spiraled right eye, imbued with Brahma's divine might, shone brilliantly. Then. Demon god pillars, face this. Vasavi Shakti. Damn it. This cursed fool is going all out. Karna. You again, disrupting our plans. Seeing Karna fully unleash his noble phantasm, the pillars lost their composure. Under the solar flames and thunder's pressure, their panicked voices betrayed disbelief. They hadn't considered fleeing to dodge Karna's lethal strike. But how could a strike bearing Indra's divine power be easily evaded? No matter how they tried, the looming sense of doom persisted. This meant Karna's obliterating strike was inescapable. Left with no choice, they steeled themselves to face it. The lead pillar, Marax, raised its head, a golden energy mass rising from its massive body. It swiftly formed a barrier over the pillars. The Holy Grail. This was the core Goetia had given them to fuel their magic. Originally held by Barbados, the leader, it was entrusted to them for this mission to ensure Quetzalcoatl's elimination. Though their target wasn't her, this was the moment to use it. Marax locked its gaze, channeling the Grail's power. Rallying the other pillars to supply mana, they countered Karna's obliterating strike with their own ultimate move. Incineration Ritual. Incineration Ritual. Countless purple beams shot from the pillar's eyes, converging into a massive purple column aimed at Karna. Roar. Even Humbaba, sensing the obliterating strike, roared deafeningly, channeling mana to unleash countless sharp weapons from the Golden City to halt Karna's noble phantasm. But it was too late. The obliterating strike descended. A searing beam from the massive dark red lance, wrapped in thunder, fell like divine judgment, unstoppable. Its world-shattering force seemed poised to pierce the pillars and the earth itself. On the now hellish, molten ground, the Holy Grail, under Marax's control, emitted a dazzling torrent, joining the pillars' full force to resist the divine strike. Purple light, golden weapons, and radiant mana clashed against the incinerating thunder lance. Flames, mana, thunder, and Golden City artifacts, Multiple forces collided in the night, trembling. Even the leaked energy from their clash made the sky roar and the earth crack. This is Karna's power? Far at the demonic front, battling the demon beast army, Arjuna felt the god-slaying strike's incinerating power, his eyes wide with shock. He looked toward Karna's direction, using clairvoyance to take in the scene. A landscape turned into a crimson inferno. Thunder and flames, he'd never mistake that power. It was Karna's, and their father Indra's. Karna had unleashed his noble phantasm, the god-slaying lance, again. This meant he was fighting with his life on the line. No, Karna. You can't. Our battle isn't settled. How can you exit like this? Realizing this, Arjuna's eyes trembled. Like a madman, he frantically drew his bow, firing mana arrows to slaughter the beasts below. What's wrong, Archer? Leonidas, his comrade, noticed Arjuna's loss of control and asked with concern. No. Karna, you can't leave. Arjuna's voice shook as he leaped, ready to rush toward Karna. But Leonidas grabbed his arm tightly. What are you doing, Archer? The demonic front is already critical. Where are you going? Don't stop me, Lancer. I need to find Karna. That man can only fall by my hand, I won't let him escape like this. What? No, I understand your feelings, but calm down, Archer. This isn't the time for personal desires. Look at these soldiers fighting bravely. If you leave, they'll become beast fodder. Is that acceptable? Arjuna's eyes wavered, torn between struggle and despair. Bang. Seeing this, Leonidas roared and struck the dazed Arjuna with a heavy fist, snapping him back to clarity. Then, Leonidas released his grip. If you'd abandon these men for your own desires, letting them die, go now, Archer. I have no right to stop you. Arjuna looked at Leonidas, donning his armor and leaping into battle, and at Spartacus, now a giant bearing countless wounds. His eyes filled with conflict. No one stopped him, yet he couldn't move. His inner turmoil intensified, but he made his choice. He glanced deeply at the crimson sky of Karna's battle, then lowered his head, drawing his bow to target the endless ferocious beasts below. Die, all of you. On the night sea, Roy, battling demon beasts, seemed to sense something, like Arjuna. He looked toward Karna's direction, his expression falling silent. After a long pause, as if foreseeing something, he murmured. Is that your choice? It's all right. Thank you. Karna. Without further words, Roy raised his left hand, sensing the moment, and issued a command. By the name of the command spell, Karna, have no regrets, unleash your full power. As his words fell, Karna, far in Mesopotamia, surged with renewed strength. Master. Feeling the sudden surge of terrifying power, Karna's expression shifted, understanding everything. Thank you. A faint smile curved his lips. The obliterating strike, locked in a stalemate with the pillars, trembled, then erupted with fiercer flames, surpassing any past power, sweeping downward. The power's grown stronger. What's happening? This terrifying force. A command spell? Damn you, Karna. The pillars below stared in shock at the enhanced strike. Even the Grail's barrier could no longer hold. Everything before them turned to oblivion. Crimson flames descended, engulfing all in their sight. The terrain transformed, life eradicated, the plains reduced to a molten desert. The blooming crimson light enveloped Karna in the sky and the pillars on the ground. Under this strike, all fell silent. Everything turned to dust, returning to stillness. Chapter 215, Seek That Useless Goddess. A night of turmoil ensured the planned migration was far from peaceful. Despite the protection of Li Xuan, Red Hair, and Quetzalcoatl, the journey across the Mesopotamian plain came at a heavy cost. Of the thousands who set out from more than half were lost or gravely injured. Comrades who had laughed together before the migration now lay as cold corpses, forever left on the Mesopotamian wilderness under the night sky. Among them were many Ruk soldiers who never made it back to their homeland. Some died, some were wounded, and others carried their fallen comrades' will, pressing forward. Soldiers took up the weapons of their fallen allies, continuing the grueling migration. Then, the crimson lotus flames bloomed. Half the Mesopotamian plain had been reduced to molten lava under Karna's unleashed god-slaying lance. The rampaging demon beasts, the sudden demon god pillars, and Humbabas' presence had all vanished under the obliterating strike, which even the king of all gods would regard with awe, leaving only ruins and dust. Stepping into Ruk's divine tower again, Roy's expression grew heavy. He could no longer sense his connection to Karna, likely returned to the throne of heroes. After battling sea beasts for hours, Roy, just arrived via the sea route, met Quetzalcoatl and Li Xuan, who had reached Ruk earlier. Seeing her master, even the usually cheerful Quetzalcoatl lost her playful demeanor, lowering her head and shaking it in apology. I'm sorry, master. Humbaba, demon god pillars, and more demon beasts. No wonder so many unheard-of creatures had emerged, and the once favorable situation had turned upside down. It was all Goetia's doing. Roy's involvement had completely altered the Seventh Singularity's landscape. The mastermind behind humanity's incineration could no longer sit idle and had taken the field. Roy said nothing to Quetzalcoatl's guilt or Li Xuan's sighs. No comfort, no blame. The migration from Ur had cost thousands of lives, and Red Hair, leading the charge, was gravely injured, now recovering in Ruk's divine tower. For Quetzalcoatl, who saw Ur's warriors as her people, this was a crushing toll. She was consumed by rage, and words of comfort were unnecessary. Still, preserving 2/3 of the group under the assault of over a dozen demon god pillars and Humbaba was a remarkable feat. Though Karna had likely returned to the throne of heroes, his sacrifice had secured a precious victory, saving Quetzalcoatl and ensuring most of Ur's soldiers reached their destination. I'm proud of you, Karna. Tap, 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 bidding farewell to Quetzalcoatl, Roy wasted no time, heading straight to Gilgamesh's divine tower. The tower, once bustling, was now eerily quiet. The citizens reporting affairs and the bustling priests were gone, as were the guards at the entrance. The scene felt desolate. On the throne, Gilgamesh, visibly weary, saw Roy and lowered his gaze, forcing a faint smile. Seeing you return safely is good news. Safely returned. Roy shook his head. No, as a master, I couldn't even bring back my own servant. How can that be called a safe return? No. Facing such a sudden crisis, not only avoiding total annihilation but bringing back 3/4 of your people, that's a result worthy of praise. I had planned a grand feast to celebrate your and Ur's soldiers' migration, but now, it seems unnecessary. Gilgamesh rubbed his disheveled hair, rising from his throne to address Roy below. King of Ur, since your city has joined my Ruk, it's time to shoulder a king's duties. I won't lord over you as a host. At this moment, we are equals. Come, experience the thrill of working 20 hours a day with me. 20 hours a day without collapsing? You're truly formidable, Gilgamesh. Hearing Gilgamesh's jest, Roy shook his head, declining. I'd love to stay in Ruk and work with you, but now's not the time. I have more pressing matters to attend to. Gilgamesh frowned. More pressing matters? Yes. Roy answered earnestly, you've seen it. To face the coming calamity, we need more strength. The demon god pillar's arrival, Humbaba's revival, the unseen beast goddess, and even the demon god king. Our enemies grow stronger, and we don't know when the final disaster will strike. We need more allies. More allies. Gilgamesh looked at Roy oddly, pondering these so-called allies. With the demon god pillar's emergence, the number of demon beasts had multiplied, turning the once manageable demonic front into a losing battle. These beasts were even evolving to counter the front's defenses. These relentless, locust-like enemies were daunting. Despite his efforts to address the beast surge, Gilgamesh saw little success. His energy and manpower were finite, but the beasts were endless. The only solution was to strike at the blood fort Andromeda, eliminating the beast goddess. But with Ruk's current state, even passive defense was exhausting. How could they muster an offensive against her? And their enemies weren't just beasts. Even with Roy's soldiers, Quetzalcoatl, and Jaguar Man filling gaps to prevent collapse, they desperately needed more combat strength. Across Mesopotamia, the only potential ally Gilgamesh could think of was that useless goddess. Chapter 216, The True Power of the Third Magic. You mean Ishtar? A less than pleasant figure flashed in Gilgamesh's mind, his brows furrowing tightly, his expression twisting. Though he loathed to have any dealings with that useless goddess, he had to admit, in their dire situation, Ishtar was a significant asset, especially with her divine beast, the Bull of Heaven. Even Humbaba, the great earth beast once slain by him and his dearest friend, had been revived. The situation was urgent. With Enkidu gone and his own strength diminished by Ruk's burdens, the only one in Ruk capable of facing such a beast was Quetzalcoatl, brought by Roy. After long deliberation, Gilgamesh sighed, rubbing his forehead wearily. I understand. I'll consider your suggestion. Go settle Ur's soldiers in the camp Leonidas arranged. Let them rest tonight. Time waits for no one. Tomorrow, they'll report to Leonidas and Arjuna for battle. You have no objections, I presume? Sending exhausted soldiers straight from the grueling migration to the battlefield wasn't something Gilgamesh would do. If possible, he'd give them and Chaldea 2 days to recover in Ruk before fighting. But time was against them. The northern and southern demonic fronts were deteriorating, with beast numbers surging, threatening to collapse at any moment. Thus, Gilgamesh had to cut the planned 2-day rest to a single night, deploying more soldiers to the battlefield tomorrow. Don't worry. They're not wallowing in grief. My warriors are eager to fight, and They've resolved themselves with a determination far beyond death. Roy's eyes turned icy, his aura shifting from earlier anger to an eerie calm. This stark change made Gilgamesh sense something amiss, but before he could ask, Roy sighed, as if deciding something, and looked at him. King of Heroes, I've heard from Li Xuan and Quetzalcoatl about the situation. Rock's soldiers on the demonic front have lost nearly half to the sudden beast assault, haven't they? Roy's tone was flat, devoid of emotion. This extreme calm unnerved even Gilgamesh. What was this strange feeling? Yes. The beast raid killed a third of our soldiers, and nearly half are gravely wounded, unable to fight. Most are in the ziggurat, barely clinging to life, praying to Ereshkigal for death to ease their pain, hoping not to burden Ruck further. Gilgamesh didn't hide Ruck's dire state from Roy. That night, countless unseen beasts had struck the demonic front, catching Ruck's soldiers off guard. Worse, multiple demon god pillars appeared, orchestrating a devastating assault.